Part 221. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 2202. Xiongnan told Zhang Xiangbei about He Hongmei, saying that it was too unexpected. He didn't expect that Aunt Xiaofang had always been in contact with Aunt Hongmei. Zhang Xiangbei said, I didn't expect it, but when I lived with Aunt Xiaofang in the United States, I knew that they had frequent contact. Later, Aunt Xiaofang returned to China and married my father again. I also thought they had no contact. When the two people talked about this, they naturally talked about He Hongmei. When talking about He Hongmei, they naturally talked about Japan. Zhang Xiangbei said, I haven't been to Japan yet and I want to go to Japan. Xiangnan said, then go now. I think it's not enough for Aunt Xiaofang and Aunt Hongmei to talk about our marriage. If you go, you'd better invite her in person. When Xiangnan thinks of He Hongmei, she always thinks of the lonely figure He Hongmei left for her when she and He Hongmei parted ways in Japan. Zhang Xiangbei said yes, I will apply for a visa tomorrow. After Xiangnan's vacation is over, she will take the Yongchengwu opera troupe to complete the annual task of sending operas to the countryside. There is still more than a month before their wedding, and he can't get involved in the preparations for the wedding. During this period, Zhang Xiangbei was alone with nothing to do, so he could go to Japan. At the same time, he also wanted to fulfill one of his own wishes and visit the home of Hashimoto, his classmate at Yale University. The Hashimoto family lives in Hyogo Prefecture, Japan. Hyogo Prefecture is adjacent to Osaka Prefecture and is the largest prefecture in Kansai, Japan. A prefecture in Japan is equivalent to a province in China. The seat of Hyogo Prefecture is the famous city of Kobe. Tajima in the northern part of Hyogo Prefecture produces black Tajima cattle. Tajima has a beautiful natural environment with streams everywhere. What flows in the streams are veritable mineral water. The mountains are rich in various medicinal herbs, and Tajima cattle are I grew up drinking mineral water and eating herbs. Tajima beef is the origin of Matsuzaka beef, Kobe beef, and Miyazaki beef, Japan's three major Wagyu beef. Kobe beef is produced from Tajima in Hyogo Prefecture, also known as Tajima beef. It is the most famous among Japanese Wagyu beef and can be said to be world famous. But in terms of quality, Matsusaka beef is the best. Matsusaka beef is not a breed of cattle, but refers to the quality of the cattle and the way it is raised. When female Tajima cattle grow to 8 or 9 months old, they are brought back to a small area near Matsuzaka City, Mie Prefecture, and raised. Sent to market grade auction 3 years later. There is one thing that Zhang Xiangbei still can't figure out, and that is why Japanese Wagyu beef uses only female beef, and it is virgin cows that have not been mated. When people usually buy pork, they are afraid of buying sow's pork, which will not be cooked well. If it can't bite, can't the cow? Zhang Xiangbei did not find the answer to this question on Baidu. I hope that this visit to the origin of Kobe beef can solve this doubt. Miyazaki beef is produced in Miyazaki Prefecture and is currently in a state of extinction. Due to foot and mouth disease in livestock, the last 6 Miyazaki Wagyu breeding cattle were slaughtered on July 18, 2010. Now relevant experts are using frozen Miyazaki Wagyu semen, trying to recreate Miyazaki Wagyu. Hashimoto himself works at Mitsubishi Bank in Tokyo. His parents are still in Hyogo Prefecture. His family has a ranch and is a government-approved Kobe Wagyu breeder. Zhang Xiangbei went to Japan this time just to see how the Japanese raise Wagyu, and at the same time, he wanted to taste the real Kobe Wagyu and Matsusaka Wagyu. Zhang Xiangbei often eats Kobe Wagyu and Matsusaka Wagyu in Japanese restaurants in China, but he knows that these are fakes, passed off as Australian Wagyu and domestic Dalian Snow Dragon black beef, and are not real. Kobe Wagyu and Matsusaka Wagyu. The reason is simple. Due to the impact of mad cow disease, China began to ban the import of Japanese beef in 2001. In 2010, a large-scale foot and mouth disease broke out in Japan, and China further banned the import of Japanese cloven-hoofed animals, pigs, cattle, sheep, etc., and their products. Even the import is banned. Where will these Kobe Wagyu and Matsusaka Wagyu come from? Zhang Xiangbei is a VIP customer of China's CITIC Bank. China's CITIC Bank can handle visas for Japan. Zhang Xiangbei contacted Hashimoto. Hashimoto was very happy to know that Zhang Xiangbei was coming to Japan. He said that he must arrange vacation time to accompany him. Zhang returned to their hometown in Hyogo Prefecture. 5 days after the visa information was sent, Zhang Xiangbei's visa was issued. Zhang Xiangbei contacted Hashimoto while booking a flight and told him when he was going to Tokyo. After contacting Hashimoto, Zhang Xiangbei contacted He Hongmei and told her that he was coming to Japan the day after tomorrow. Really, bye-bye. Send me your flight number quickly, and my aunt will pick you up at the airport, He Hongmei called on the phone. Zhang Xiangbei said, "No, Aunt Hongmei, my classmates will pick me up at the airport, and I will go to see you from the airport." "Okay, bye-bye, I will send you the address of my company right away. When you come, we will have dinner together," He Hongmei said happily. Zhang Xiangbei said yes. After hanging up the phone, He Hongmei immediately sent the address of her company to Zhang Xiangbei. Zhang Xiangbei took an All Nippon Airways flight from Xiaoshan International Airport in Hangzhou to Tokyo Narita Airport. At the exit, Zhang Xiangbei heard someone shouting "brother, buddy" from a distance, raising one hand and waving. He stood, his head submerged behind the crowd of people picking him up at the exit. Zhang Xiangbei hurriedly walked over there, and Hashimoto also emerged from the crowd. Hashimoto was very short, only 1.63 meters tall. He was easily overwhelmed in the crowd, especially among the white people. Among those big ocean horses, they look even thinner and inconspicuous. When he was at Yale, Hashimoto and Zhang Xiangbei grew vegetables together, and he was quite good at farm work. Who knew that he was also from the Kansai countryside, and he also learned free fighting from Zhang Xiangbei. His name was Zhang Xiangbei's master, and Zhang Xiangbei thought the word was too harsh, so he taught him 2 Chinese characters, called buddy. Hashimoto made a move as soon as he came up, and Zhang Xiangbei stepped back subconsciously, and both of them laughed. Hashimoto took out a Japanese newspaper and said to Zhang Xiangbei, Look, your name is on the Nikkei Shimbun." Zhang Xiangbei looked at it. He didn't understand Japanese, but he saw the photo of Teacher Ma and his own photo. He understood that it must be talking about the acquisition of Zaixianchao by Daibao. The Japanese media were concerned about it. This is normal, because the largest shareholder of Daibao is Masayoshi's son. The two of them walked towards the parking lot. Zhang Xiangbei asked Hashimoto, "Have you asked for leave?" "No," Hashimoto said, "I don't need to ask for leave." "Don't you want to go to my house?" "I will go with you." Zhang Xiangbei was surprised and asked, "How can you accompany me if you haven't asked for leave?" Hashimoto smiled and said, "It's my job to accompany you, as long as you provide me with some data." Hashimoto and Zhang Xiangbei explained, and Zhang Xiangbei finally understood that the original task he had received was to write a research report on home fresh delivery. Since it was home fresh delivery, who else could compare with Zhang Xiangbei? Xiangbei knew better that he didn't need to look up information at all. He just needed to accompany Zhang Xiangbei, and he would ask questions while recording while the two of them traveled. Zhang Xiangbei was surprised and asked, "Fresh delivery is none of your business, why are you so concerned?" Hashimoto said, "Whether it's China or South Korea, as long as there are major financial events, we will study them. Believe it or not, there are many things that happen in China that we know better than you." Zhang Xiangbei understood that the Japanese regarded China and South Korea as their opponents, and the Japanese had always studied their opponents very seriously. When the two of them got to the car, Zhang Xiangbei opened WeChat on his phone, clicked on the address He Hongmei sent him, and told Hashimoto to take me to this place first. He Hongmei's company is in Chiyoda, in an office building near Kitanomaru Park. There are 6 or 7 people working in a large room of more than 200 square meters. On one side is the production room, where 2 sewing workers are sewing something. In the middle is a large table, where board making and cutting are done. Past the stage, there is a long row of clothes hangers. The clothes hangers are full of clothes. In front of the clothes hangers, there are 7 or 8 vertical mannequins. The clothes hangers and mannequins just divide the entire space into 2. Here, there is the rest area. In the corner beyond the rest area, is He Hongmei's workbench. When Zhang Xiangbei walked in, he saw He Hongmei at a glance. He Hongmei didn't seem to have changed much after so many years. He Hongmei looked up and saw Zhang Xiangbei. She was stunned for a moment. She saw a familiar face, and suddenly she was surprised. Can't get used to it. She didn't expect that the little boy who liked to stay by his side would grow so tall now. He Hongmei stood up, still a little hesitant. Are you Bai Bei? Zhang Xiangbei smiled at her. It's me, Aunt Hongmei. He Hongmei threw the pen in her hand on the workbench, walked over and hugged Zhang Xiangbei. When they separated again, He Hongmei smiled. Bai Bei, you are much taller than Auntie now. You just came to Auntie at that time, she said and made a gesture with her ear. He Hongmei saw Hashimoto coming with her and asked Zhang Xiangbei, is this your classmate? Zhang Xiangbei said yes, he was the one who picked me up at the airport, and tomorrow we will go to his hometown, Hyogo Prefecture. Going to Hyogo? Are you going to inspect Kobe Weijio? Xiao Fang told me, aren't you no longer selling vegetables? Why are you still going to Kobe? He Hongmei asked. Go and eat beef, Zhang Xiangbei said, and He Hongmei nodded repeatedly. That's good, the beef there is good. Zhang Xiangbei took out his invitation from his backpack, handed it to He Hongmei, and said to her, Aunt Hongmei, I am here to send this to you. Xiangnan and I both hope that you can go back to attend our wedding. Xiao Fang and Xiangnan both told me that I will definitely go back, He Hongmei said with a smile. How could I not attend the wedding of Bai Bei and Nanan? I told Nanan last time that I would definitely go back. He Hongmei opened the invitation and looked at the words on the invitation carefully. The content of the invitation was very simple and formulaic, but He Hongmei's eyes turned red as she looked at it. She said, time flies so fast. Bei Bei and Nan Nan are getting married. It's great. He Hongmei turned around and kept wiping her tears with a tissue, but the tears still couldn't stop flowing. Zhang Xiangbei was a little at a loss and asked, Aunt Hongmei, what's wrong with you? It's okay, He Hongmei said, Auntie, I just remembered that when I met your mother, I wasn't as old as you and Nanan are now. In the blink of an eye, you are going to get married. What would happen if your mother knew about it? Happy. Thank you for your monthly tickets to Ye Busan, Manmanzaize, Panda, the boy who time traveled into the uncle, Hu, the little janitor, Zi Zheng said, and Jumpfi. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 2203. From the time they were studying at Yale University, Hashimoto called Zhang Xiangbei buddy and Zhang Xiangbei called Hashimoto old bridge. Zhang Xiangbei and Lao Chiao got up early the next morning. Last night, Zhang Xiangbei originally wanted Lao Chiao to stay in a hotel with him, but Lao Chiao refused. He said what would he spend the money on? We must let Zhang Xiangbei go to his rented house. He can lie down on the tatami in any direction. In this kind of weather, he only needs a blanket. The two of them arrived at home and continued drinking. They went back to their school days. Lao Chiao also turned on the computer and greeted their classmates from all over the world. Everyone was very happy to see Zhang Xiangbei. From the conversation with them, Zhang Xiangbei learned that it was not only the Japanese financial media that reported the news of Daibao's acquisition of Zai Xianshui, but also almost all media around the world. Many of them also posted photos of Xiangbei. After all, $32.5 billion US, no matter which country it is in, is a big number and can attract attention. It is more than 500 kilometers from Tokyo to Kobe, passing through the new Tomei Expressway from Tokyo to Nagoya, and the Meishin Expressway from Nagoya to Kobe. By the time they arrive in Kobe, it should be already afternoon. Kobe is located in the southwest of Honshu Island, the largest of Japan's 4 major islands, close to Osaka Bay, and is also a southern city in Hyogo Prefecture. Obashi's home is in the countryside of Toyuka City in the northern part of Hyogo Prefecture, where it was in ancient times. Tajima country is also the origin of Tajima beef, Kobe Wagyu. Lao Qiao said that their home is both in the mountains and on the seaside. 2 or 3 kilometers away from their home is the Sea of Japan. Therefore, what they are famous for and delicious there is not only Kobe Wagyu beef, but also Matsuba crab. Unfortunately, it is not the season for catching Matsuba crab. From Kobe to Toyuka, and then to Laobashi's home, there is still more than 100 kilometers, and it takes 2 hours to drive. It should be evening by the time we get home. Zhang Xiangbei has driver's licenses from the United States and China, but he cannot drive in Japan. The strange thing is that if he has a driver's license from Taiwan, he can drive in Japan. From this, we can also see Japan's careful thinking. Zhang Xiangbei couldn't drive. He had to drive this day's journey with Lao Qiao alone. Zhang Xiangbei said, "You deserve to die from exhaustion. If you want to blame it, it's your government. I have hundreds of thousands of kilometers of driving experience. When it comes to you, in bird country, they are not even allowed to touch the steering wheel. If I go to China, your government won't let me touch the steering wheel," Lao Qiao said in reply. Zhang Xiangbei was stunned, and then shouted, "Okay, you are smart enough, but you can only drive the car alone. I don't want to sit in your Japanese prison." Lao Qiao laughed and said, "It's okay, just sit next to me and talk to me. By the way, you can introduce your fresh home delivery to me, so that I can get first-hand information." "I don't want to say it," Zhang Xiangbei said. "Zaixianshui is no longer my Zaixianshui, but my scar. Then uncover it often. Don't you Chinese have a saying, the scar is healed and you forget the pain? If you uncover it often, you will be able to relieve the pain," Lao Qiao said. Zhang Xiangbei stared at him and cursed, "Do you think I'm a masochist?" Despite the scolding, after actually driving on the road, Zhang Xiangbei still talked to Lao Qiao about the fresh home delivery thing. Zhang Xiangbei studied economics himself and knew what the routine of this kind of report was, so he talked to Lao Qiao about it. When Qiao started talking, Lao Qiao said it was good. If he recorded it, it would be a complete report. Lao Qiao's memory was very strong. He remembered the numbers as soon as Zhang Xiangbei told him. He was surprised that Zhang Xiangbei had made Zaixian delivery so big. That's really not expensive. The Zaixian delivery is worth the money. What Lao Qiao was talking about was the $32.5 billion spent by Dabao.com to acquire Zaixianshui. Lao Qiao said. The most important thing is that it is equivalent to acquiring the entire market of such a large market. There are so many things that can be done. The information on these customers alone is a huge wealth. Zhang Xiangbei is right. This big data is a gold mine. What others cannot grasp, there is always something to be mined. What makes Lao Qiao very puzzled is why Zhang Xiangbei sold Zai Xianshui. He felt that every step of Zai Xianshui was correct and he could continue on until he reached the New York Stock Exchange. It was listed on the stock exchange and eventually became a company that could compete with Daibao. Zhang Xiangbei sighed in his heart, "Why didn't I think about it this way? That's what I thought when I wanted to make fresh food for home. Who said that digging out treasures is invincible? The problem is very complicated. Even if I tell you, you won't understand it, Zhang Xiangbei said. Chinese characteristics, Lao Qiao asked. Zhang Xiangbei is right, in Japan you will also have Japanese characteristics with Chinese characteristics. There were many things that Zhang Xiangbei couldn't explain clearly to Lao Qiao, and he didn't want to talk about them. In the end, he could only prevaricate because he didn't want to do it anymore because he was too tired. Lao Qiao said, I have seen photos of your fiancée on the internet. She is very beautiful. Brother, do you want to enter the land of gentleness? Yes, candid, Zhang Xiangbei asked. Okay, that's great. If I had such a beautiful wife, I would go home, even to my hometown to raise cattle. Lao Qiao said, by the way, buddy, you mentioned Japanese characteristics earlier, come on, tell me what are our Japanese characteristics? Japanese characteristics, Zhang Xiangbei said, I think your Japanese characteristics are your paper culture and seal culture, which have prevented you from entering the internet era, and now you are still stuck in the era of fax machines. Lao Qiao slammed on the brakes and the car stopped on the highway. Zhang Xiangbei was startled. Fortunately, there were no cars in front or behind. Zhang Xiangbei asked. What are you doing? Brother, you are so right, Lao Qiao excitedly clapped his hands on the steering wheel and shouted, then stepped on the accelerator and the car drove forward again. Zhang Xiangbei smiled and said, you're right, you don't need to be so surprised and scare me. However, Japan is really weird. What era are you in? There is a fax machine in every office. In China, fax machines are almost turning into unearthed cultural relics. Lao Qiao shook his head and sighed, there is no way, don't talk about it. Our bank has difficulty even promoting electronic payment. We Japanese still like to use cash. Electronic payment is far behind you China and South Korea. This is very similar to Taiwan. Taiwanese people also like to use cash, Zhang Xiangbei said. Speaking of seals, buddy, do you know that even primary school students know that if there is an earthquake, do you have to remind your family what they must take with them to escape? Lao Qiao said, passbooks and seals, in Japan, there are no seals. If you do, it will be difficult to move even an inch. Zhang Xiangbei's words are indeed to the point. Japan's seal culture was passed down from China, but even the Chinese would find it difficult to understand the importance the Japanese attach to seals. Lao Qiao said that there are no seals in Japan. It's really hard to move even an inch. In most countries, signing important documents requires a personal signature. In Japan, a seal is more important than a signature. You don't have to sign, but you must affix a seal. From the time you are born, Japanese people must have a seal of their own. Your birth certificate, household registration, schooling, etc. all need to be stamped. Seals are indispensable for employment, opening a company, applying for a job, and registering for marriage. Even your seal needs to be stamped on the death certificate. It can be said that the seal will accompany you throughout your life. Without the seal, you cannot be born or die. Every Japanese has an average of 5 seals, 3 of which are indispensable. Japan's civil code, company registration law, household registration law, real estate registration law and other laws and regulations have strict requirements for the use of seals. Therefore, in Japan, stamping is required for everything from schooling and employment, real estate sales, marriage and divorce, to the submission of various documents and reports, student papers and assignments, etc. At the same time, in Japan, the management of personal seals is very strict, even stricter than the management of official seals in our country. Forgery and theft of other people's seals are illegal and will be severely punished. The 3 indispensable seals for Japanese people are the real seal, the bank seal and the recognition seal. A real seal is what we call an individual's private seal. However, Everyone's real seal in Japan must be registered with a government agency and can only be engraved at a designated seal engraving shop. Moreover, the use of rubber stamps or atomic seals is not allowed. The materials that are easy to imitate are usually horns or hardwood, which must be carved by hand and cannot be carved with a laser engraving machine. The Japanese seals are different from our Chinese name seals. They are not rectangular or square, but round. The size of the seals is also regulated. The diameter of the seal for men must not be less than 15 millimeters, and for women, the diameter must not be less than 13.5 millimeters. The full name must be engraved on the real seal. It is a legally binding seal used for important events and occasions. For Japanese people, this is a seal that lasts a lifetime, because Japanese people use this kind of seal as a form of trust when they go to the city hall to register, buy insurance, rent a house, sign a contract, bank loan, etc. There are also requirements for the font of the actual seal. If the name is consistent with the simplified and traditional Chinese characters, use seal script, auspicious script, or ancient seal script. If the name is inconsistent with the simplified and traditional Chinese characters, use simplified Chinese script, regular script, running script, and official script, which are consistent with the personal passport. The bank seal is used when opening a bank account. It can be engraved with your full name or surname. Generally, the surname is engraved. The bank seal is registered with the financial institution. Next, if you go to the bank to transfer or withdraw money, the bank will not want you signature, but stamped with your bank seal. If the bank seal is not kept properly, there will be security risks in your account funds. All banks recognize the seal but not the person. They have special equipment to compare your seal. If someone else takes your bank seal, they can transfer your money. The recognition seal is the most commonly used in life. It is equivalent to your signature stamp. There is no need to register with relevant institutions. You can use your full name or surname as you like, and the recognition seal is equivalent to your signature. For example, when you receive express delivery, school and unit attendance, submitting documents in the company, etc., all require the use of identification seals. The material of the seal is very particular, and it needs to be carved by hand, and you have to go to a designated shop to engrave it. A set of 3 seals for one person costs about 4,000 yuan, which is quite expensive. In Japan, just because the seal is so important, everyone pays special attention to it. In a company, even if you submit a business plan or a personal summary, you must stamp it carefully. Even on documents that are circulated, you have to stamp them to show that you have read them or agreed to them. That is because all documents need to be stamped with seals, and seals are everywhere. In Japan, it is difficult to fully implement paperless office. You must stamp all documents before submitting them. If they are not in one place, they must be stamped. You need to use a fax machine. This is why Japanese offices still have fax machines. Zhang Xiaongbei said that Japan's seal culture and paper culture have hindered Japan's internetization and kept Japan in the era of fax machines. From this perspective, there is nothing wrong. Thank you Brokeback Mountain for the reward of 2 fishes. Thank you for the flowers and the boy, Feng Konghu 1974, Sand Dust Mood, No Future, just remember the original intention, 8 Liang, Yuengzi, on the road, every day, Xiaohu Swan essay, don't take it too seriously. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Niang. Chapter 2204. At about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, they arrived in Kobe. Lao Kiao said, "Let's go, buddy, I will take you to a place first." "Where?" Zhang Xiaongbei asked. Lao Kiao didn't tell him where he was, so he turned the steering wheel on his own initiative, and then said to him, "This is your favorite place for Chinese tourists?" "Luxury discount store," Zhang Xiangbei asked. Lao Kiao laughed and said, "There is such a store, and it is also in Tokyo. How could it open to Kobe? I took you to Rocco Mountain Ranch." Zhang Xiangbei had never heard of this place, but when he heard it was a ranch, he became interested. When they arrived at the Rocco Mountain Ranch, the two of them got off the car. The scenery here was quite beautiful. The entire mountain was covered with green pasture. White sheep and camel-colored alpacas were grazing leisurely on the hillside, and many tourists were squatting on them. Next to him, he was making two V gestures, as if he had grown two pairs of horns and was taking a photo with them. If you are brave enough, just hold them and take a photo. These sheep seem to be not surprised by this. When someone squats next to them, they look arrogant and disdainful, just eating grass by themselves, too lazy to pay attention to these temporary growths. A fool with a pair of horns. Holding them, they showed their patience, shook their heavy-looking heads, and bleated. If they could talk, they would probably say, "Take your paws away, Erden." Zhang Xiangbei listened to the conversations of these tourists. Many of them were really from China, speaking with a southern accent and a northern accent, and some were Taiwanese who also spoke with a melodious accent. The blue sky, green grass, and sheep all over the hillside looked really poetic. Zhang looked at the north for a while, but realized something was wrong. He felt that this place was too similar to New Zealand. Even the houses on the hillside were European style. Of Zhang Xiangbei asked Lao Qiao, "This is not a serious farm. It is for people to take pictures, right? It is more appropriate to say it is a ranch, rather than a zoo." Lao Qiao smiled and said, "It's true, but isn't it beautiful here?" "What's so beautiful?" "It looks fake," Zhang Xiangbei said. "You just use fakes like this to deceive us Chinese tourists. There are also cows, rabbits, and horses." "Do you want to ride a horse?" Lao Qiao asked. Let's go, I'd rather smell cow shit than stay in this fake New Zealand," Zhang Xiangbei said. After staying at the Rocco Mountain Ranch for less than 10 minutes, the two of them got in the car and left. Not long after leaving the city of Kobe, they walked less than 10 kilometers of the extension of the Hanshin Expressway's North Kobe line. The expressway came to an end, and the next step was the so-called automatic lanes are similar to our national highways. At this time, the car has entered the mountainous area. What are passing by outside the window are the mountains and the rice fields in the mountains. The rice has already hung ears and the rice leaves have begun to turn from green to yellow. There are also the foot of the mountains and the rice fields. Villages at the end. The scene here is very similar to the rural scene in southern China, with white walls and black tiles. It is not even as good as the rural areas in the Pearl River Delta and Yangtze River Delta. There are few buildings here, but looking at these villages, including this road, both sides were clean and tidy, as if they had been washed with water. Zhang Xiangbei looked at it and sighed in his heart. He thought of his days in Gansu, Yunnan, and Hunan. When I was in those places, didn't I just want to build such clean and tidy villages there? But now, these can only be dreams, and they are broken dreams. The car drove forward for more than an hour, and the rice fields outside the car began to decrease, replaced by patches of pasture. Zhang Xiangbei asked Lao Qiao, "Was Tajima approaching soon?" Lao Qiao said, "We are now in Tajima territory, and we will arrive at my home in 10 minutes. Zhang Xiangbei looked at the pastures outside the window, including the villages, but did not see a single cow. Zhang Xiangbei asked, "Isn't Kobe Weijiao produced here? Why do I only see pastures and no cattle on the roadside?" At this time, the cows are all bathing in the cowshed. With such a strong sun, they are only allowed to come out for a walk when it is cool in the morning, Lao Qiao said. You heard me right, Lao Qiao used words like bathing and walking. It can be seen that this cow is no longer an ordinary cow, but a real cow. Do we still need to play music for them? Zhang Xiangbei asked with a smile. Yes, Lao Qiao said. Do you really want to play music? I thought playing music for cows was just a joke. When Zhang Xiangbei said this, he remembered a word, playing the piano to cows. Of course, all cows like melodious music, Lao Qiao said. Zhang Xiangbei turned to look at Lao Qiao, clicked his tongue, and thought, are you kidding me? I'm not lying to you, I really want to listen to music for them and drink beer for them, Lao Qiao said. Why? Prevent them from losing appetite and ensure that they can eat normally, so that the meat can be more delicious, Lao Qiao said. In order to catch up with the meat quality of our Japanese Wagyu, Australian Wagyu beef will drink red wine. Bad red wine, it's like giving dates and olives to pigs in Spain. The treatment is really good, Zhang Xiangbei smiled. Of course, those who raise Wagyu cattle are more attentive to their Wagyu cattle than their wives. Not only do they have to bathe them in hot spring water every day, they also take them for walks. There is a time limit for walks. They can't be too short or too long, for fear of getting tired. When you come back from a walk every day, you have to apply a layer of shozu on its skin. Do you know shozu? Our Japanese low-alcohol liquor. After applying shozu, we use a brush made of straw to massage it. Through this method, firstly, it can be disinfected and prevent them from getting skin diseases. More importantly, it can promote the blood circulation of Wagyu cattle, so that the subcutaneous fat of the cattle is evenly distributed, the meat is delicate, and the snowflake pattern is clear. This kind of meat looks pleasing to the eye, and tastes fresh and tender, soft but not greasy, and melts in the mouth. Taste. Zhang Xiangbei laughed loudly. Does it taste like elegant music? Don't laugh, especially in front of cattle farmers, don't be so frivolous. Really, they will be unhappy. They are doing these things very seriously, Lao Qiao and Zhang Xiangbei said. Zhang Xiangbei nodded, I understand, so I will act arrogantly in front of you. You don't raise cattle anyway. Think about it, if a man treats women like this, which woman will not be fascinated by him, Lao Qiao said. I really know how to do it, Zhang Xiangbei said, and thought about it. Wagyu are both female cows, and he couldn't help but laugh. Why are you laughing? Lao Qiao asked. I laugh. Not only women will be fascinated by such a man, but also cows will be moved and sacrifice their own flesh, Zhang Xiangbei said, and Lao Qiao also laughed after hearing this. By the way, Lao Qiao, let me ask you a question. What is the problem? Why does Wagyu have to be made from female cows, and they also need to be virgin cows? Zhang Xiangbei asked. Lao Qiao shook his head and said, it's right to use female cows for Wagyu, and it's right to use virgin cows. However, I really don't know why. I'll ask you later. Zhang Xiangbei said yes. The car left the road and drove forward along a small road. When it turned a mountain col in front, Zhang Xiangbei's eyes lit up. He saw that in the valley in front of him was a green pasture, and a small stream gurgled out of the valley. There are several houses of various sizes scattered on the hillside at the end of the valley. Zhang Xiangbei felt that the scene in front of him seemed familiar. After thinking about it for a while, he remembered, isn't it very similar to Kayangshong, Hainan, with green grass and streams in the valleys? The only difference is that the green grass in Kayangshong is wild, while it is artificially planted here. A pasture. Are you here? Zhang Xiangbei asked. Here we are, this is my home, Lao Qiao said. That's great, Lao Qiao. I didn't expect your family to be painting the same place, Zhang Xiangbei said, and Lao Qiao smiled happily. Along the gravel path in the middle of the pasture, Zhang drove the car to the front of the house. Zhang looked north and saw 3 people in the house. Hearing the sound of cars coming in from outside, he walked out of the house and stood there waving to them. One of the girls, who was tall and wearing a white shirt and jeans, was particularly eye-catching. She looked like a female star in a Japanese movie. Lao Jiao parked the car, and the two people got out of the car. The three people were already walking towards them with smiles. Lao Jiao introduced Zhang Xiangbei. One was his father, the other was his mother, and the girl, Zhang Xiangbei. I thought it would be Lao Qiao's girlfriend, but Lao Qiao said, "This is my sister, she works in Osaka." Zhang Xiangbei was surprised. These two siblings look so different. Thank you Dai, book friend 2020091116010975 for your monthly ticket. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 2205. It was still early for dinner, so Lao Jiao and his sister took Zhang Xiangbei for a visit. Lao Jiao introduced to Zhang Xiangbei that his sister used to help raise cattle at home and now works for an import and export company in Osaka. The company specializes in exporting Kobe beef to Europe and the United States. My sister knows all about Kobe beef. You can ask her, brother. My sister's English is also very good. After Lao Jiao finished speaking, my sister smiled with Zhang Xiangbei and said in English, "Please take care of me." Zhang Xiangbei quickly said thank you, nice to meet my sister. My sister is very gentle when she smiles. Lao Jiao thought about it and he was right, buddy, I know your first question. He then said something to his sister in Japanese instead of English. My sister looked at Zhang Xiangbei and blushed. She also spoke to Lao Jiao in Japanese instead of English. Lao Jiao kept yelling. 11 nodded, and finally made a look of realization. Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei said, "Sister has the solution to your eternal problem. Why do Kobe Wagyu beef have to be female virgin cattle that are more than 3 years old?" My sister said that female cows are chosen because they have more hormones and more fat. There will be such a beautiful frost, ox beef will not have such a beautiful frost. Frost? Zhang Xiangbei asked. Frost is the white fat, marble effect. Australians call it snowflakes, and we Japanese call it frost. Lao Jiao said. Zhang Xiangbei nodded and understood. Australians call snowflake fat cattle, and Kobe Wagyu, more accurately, should it be called frost fall fat cattle? Lao Jiao continued. We choose virgin cows because once the female cows have been mated, their meat will have a slight milky smell, which will affect the taste. Do you understand, buddy? I understand, Zhang Xiangbei said, you really solved my eternal mystery. The three people were talking and walking. The house they had just left was the home of Lao Jiao and his family. The big house they were walking towards now needed no introduction. Looking at the structure of the house, Zhang Xiangbei could also tell that it was probably a cow shed. Zhang Xiangbei pointed to the large green pasture in front of him, and remembered some legends about Wagyu breeding that he had read before, such as drinking mineral water, eating herbs, etc., and asked his sister, "Is there anything special about these pastures? Do the cattle here eat these pastures to make their meat particularly tender?" "No," my sister said, "cows only eat very little grass and can control it. You can't give them too much grass, just like you can't let them exercise too much. The pasture is mainly for cattle to walk. The main food they eat is dry grass, and a lot of our grass is imported from China. When feeding, wheat and cereals need to be mixed with the dry grass." Zhang Xiangbei laughed. It seemed that eating herbs, drinking mineral water, etc. were all rumors passed down from generation to generation. Zhang Xiangbei told them the things he remembered. His sister said that they were not all legends, at least there were some. Part of it is true, for example, drinking mineral water. The water flowing down from the mountains here is all water containing minerals. This is correct. Also, in the past, cattle also ate grass. Now they are only fed dry grass. This way, they can better control their intake and the nutrients they obtain. Nowadays, Japanese Wagyu cattle breeding follows standardized operations. If it's green grass, it's more difficult to control, said my sister. Zhang Xiangbei nodded, it's like customizing nutritious meals for people. Yes, you must know that the current Wagyu is not exactly the same breed as the previous Wagyu. We now strictly prohibit the export of live Wagyu cattle, but in fact, Wagyu is not entirely native to Japan, but is related to foreign cattle. The result of continuous hybridization and improvement. The current Kobe Wagyu beef originated from the improvement in 1956. That improvement is considered to be the most successful improvement in the history of Wagyu. It was bred from the improved descendants of the Lycian Simmental bull. It's done. When my sister saw what Zhang Xiangbei wanted to say, she understood, smiled, and explained. Simmental cattle originated in the Swiss Alps. By the way, through DNA analysis, our Japanese Kobe black cattle and your Chinese Qinghai cattle have a common ancestor. As they talked, they walked to the cowshed. To be honest, Zhang Xiangbei was disappointed with the cowshed when he entered it. It turned out that Zhang Xiangbei thought that such a famous Kobe beef should be in a very modern cowshed with a clean floor. It's clean enough for people to lie down on it, and the cowshed also has all kinds of advanced equipment, and there's also melodious music. As a result, this cowshed is no different from an ordinary cowshed. It is divided into cattle pens. In each cattle pen, there are more than a dozen black cows. The trough for feeding dry grass is made of wood. There was a thick layer of something, mixed with cow urine and dung, and it looked filthy. What surprised Zhang Xiangbei even more was that this cowshed, like ordinary cows' heads, also had an unpleasant smell. Lao Chiao told Zhang Xiangbei that their family raised a total of 256 cows. Zhang Xiangbei saw that the difference between the cows here and those in other places was that each cow had a cow hanging on its right ear. A sign with a 10-digit code on it. Lao Chiao and Zhang Xiangbei said that this was the cow's ID card, which was issued by the government. Each cow has this code when it is born. By inputting this code into the computer, you can check the cow's pedigree, its mother and father. My sister said, after the improvement was successful in 5 or 6 years, we here in Tajima, the management of Tajima cattle is very strict, and crossbreeding with other impure cattle is no longer allowed, and no other hybrid blood is allowed in the bloodline. Zhang Xiangbei understood that these cattle were nobles among cattle. Just like people, all nobles were actually born from common people. But after becoming nobles, they had to pay attention to being well matched and look down on common people. The code of cattle appears on people's tables or in hotels from raising to slaughtering until final sale. This code will always follow it. It can be said that every piece of Kobe beef sold in the world can be traced back to its bloodline, includes the farm where it was raised, said my sister. Isn't anyone forging this brand? Zhang Xiangbei asked. My sister and Lao Chiao became alert almost at the same time. They both said that it couldn't be forged. Lao Chiao pointed to the nose of a cow and asked Zhang Xiangbei to look at it. Zhang Xiangbei took a closer look and saw that it turned out that the cow's nose had a nose mark. Lao Chiao said that the nose mark is stamped upon birth and corresponds to the brand. The brand can be forged or damaged, but this nose mark cannot. Zhang Xiangbei knew why they were so vigilant, and at the same time tried his best to explain things that could not be faked. Just last year, on October 23, 2017, the Hyogo Prefecture headquarters of the Japan Agricultural Cooperative Association admitted to the outside world that a restaurant directly operated by the organization in Kobe City had been operating since April 2016. As of October 2017, approximately 3,200 servings of Kobe beef, which was passed off as inferior beef, were provided to customers. The Kobe beef fraud incident, and the subsequent fraud incidents at Nissan Motor, Kobe Steel, and SIS, have become a huge scandal that shocked the world, subverting everyone's original understanding of Japanese products. Zhang Xiangbei didn't mention this matter. It could be seen that both Lao Chiao and his sister seemed to be relieved. Zhang Xiangbei said with a smile, "This bullpen is still different from what I imagined." "What's the difference?" Lao Jiao asked. "I originally thought that Kobe beef should be raised in a very modern cattle farm. The floor is clean and tiled, and the cows' heads are also made of stainless steel, including the cows' heads and troughs. There will also be a lot of tubes. This tube leads to water, that tube leads to feed, and there are tubes responsible for removing excrement. It is very modern, including the breeders, all wearing sterile protective clothing and controlling the computer in front of you, and various display screens will display various data, including the heart rate of each cow and so on." Zhang Xiangbei said honestly. Lao Jiao and his sister both laughed, and the sister said, "You said that people like it very much, but cows definitely don't like it. Everything here is done in a way that cows like it, so that they can stay in a happy mood, not people. They just like to be in wooden troughs. I just like the sawdust on the ground when I eat there." Only then did Zhang Xiangbei realize that the thick layer on the ground of the cattle pen turned out to be sawdust. Zhang Xiangbei thinks what his sister said makes sense. He once saw a video of a KFC farm. It can be said that the picture is terrifying. The instant chickens are crowded together and are force-fed every day. The most terrifying thing is the chicken doesn't even have feathers. The beef will be delicious only if the cow is completely relaxed and in a happy mood, my sister said. Zhang Xiangbei is right. If KFC and McDonald's chickens could be raised according to the chickens' wishes, their chickens would definitely taste better than they do now. My sister and Lao Jiao both laughed. "So, do you really listen to music for cows?" Zhang Xiangbei asked. "Yes," my sister pointed with her finger. Zhang Xiangbei saw that there were indeed speakers hanging in the cowshed. Her sister said, "However, if you listen to it for a period of time every day, if you listen to it all day long, let alone a cow, even a human will not think it is beautiful music, but noise." Sister really understands cows. Zhang Xiangbei said that his sister couldn't help laughing, but it wasn't a big laugh. She still pursed her lips and smiled very gently. Coming out of the cowshed, Lao Jiao and his sister took Zhang Xiangbei into a house on the side. This house was connected to both ends. Unlike the cowshed, this house was very modern and looked like it is an automatic car wash room with an archway 5 or 6 meters long. Lao Jiao walked to the edge of the arch. There was a console there. Lao Jiao pressed a button, and water jets were sprayed up, down, left, and right in the arch. In an instant, the entire arch was filled with mist. Through the ground of the arch, Zhang Xiangbei discovered that it was possible mobile. Lao Jiao said, "This is the place where the cows are bathed. When the cows go in from one end and come out from the other end, they will be very clean. The water is all hot springs pumped out from the ground." My sister stood next to Zhang Xiangbei and explained to him that after the cows came out from that end, someone would help them dry themselves and then massage them. "Will cows be obedient?" Zhang Xiangbei asked. "Will they lose their temper?" "No," my sister said with a smile, "this is their favorite place. When they get to the door, they are eager to go inside." Zhang Xiangbei said to his sister, "This really looks like a modern car wash." "Yes, the price of a Wagyu beef is more expensive than an ordinary Toyota car," my sister said to Zhang Xiangbei. "Thank you Brokeback Mountain for the reward of 2 fishes. Thank you East Long 888, Sinful Orchid Finger, Lelagia Boss, Tree Roots and Leaves, Snacks, On the Road to a Nation, Reader 1297873834071100656, Book Friends 20220116112958946 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 2206. After leaving the cowshed, my sister said goodbye to the two of them and walked home, saying that she was going to prepare food for them. Lao Jiao took Zhang Xiangbei to a wooden house near the foot of the mountain between their house and the cowshed. The house is not big and the shape is very simple. After walking in, I discovered that it turned out to be a hot spring bath. The pool is not big, about 3 or 4 square meters. The walls of the pool are made of stones, and the hot spring water emerges from the cracks in these stones. The whole bathroom was filled with mist. Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei said that whenever you feel tired, you can take a dip here. It is very comfortable. Next to the big pool, there is a small round pool, about half a meter in diameter. As Lao Jiao said, he asked Zhang Xiangbei to take off his shoes, sit down, and put his feet into the pool to soak. Zhang Xiangbei said, today after riding in the car for a day, my feet were a little swollen. Soaking in the hot spring water was really comfortable. The two of them sat there smoking and chatting. As they chatted, they talked about Lao Jiao's sister. Lao Jiao said that her sister was very pitiful. Zhang Xiangbei couldn't imagine how pitiful a person like his sister, who always smiled gently, would be, or to put it conversely, how could a poor person maintain such a gentle smile? Only when I return home will my sister be so happy. In Osaka, my sister will not be like this, Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei said. Lao Jiao said that his sister was pitiful because the man she married was very bad. He often beat his sister and caused domestic violence. His sister wanted a divorce but the other party refused. Moreover, that bastard was very nasty. Every time he hit his sister, he would not do it. He would slap him in the face, but he would slap him in a place where others could not see him. Sister didn't call the police, Zhang Xiangbei asked. Lao Jiao shook his head and said, in Japan, domestic violence is actually very common. If a Japanese woman is beaten by a man, if others know, they will not scold the man, but will look down on you. My sister is very concerned about face, so she won't go call the police. Zhang Xiangbei became angry and cursed, is everything I taught you in vain? Is everything you learned in vain? It is said that at Yale, Lao Jiao learned free kickboxing from Zhang Xiangbei. Of course I taught him a lesson, but every time this guy saw me, before I made a move, he would beg for mercy, saying that he was too drunk and would never touch my sister again. How many days did I leave Osaka? Okay, I'm honest, but after a few days, it's the same as before. I'm in Tokyo and can't run to Osaka often. Many times, my sister doesn't dare to tell me even if she gets beaten. If she told me, that bastard would beat her even more. My sister told my mother told me, and I asked my sister, but she always denied it and said she was not beaten. What can I do? Lao Jiao kept sighing. Lao Jiao told Zhang Xiangbei that this time his sister came back because Lao Jiao knew that Zhang Xiangbei wanted to know a lot about Kobe Weijiao, so he specially asked her to come back. Lao Jiao's cell phone rang, and he picked it up. After putting down the phone, he told Zhang Xiangbei, let's go have a meal. The two of them walked into the restaurant, and Lao Jiao's parents and sister greeted them with smiles. They heard Lao Jiao talking about his sister before, and when he saw his sister again, Zhang Xiangbei had a different feeling in his heart. He looked at her, smiling gently, a little distressed. Everyone sat down on the tatami around a table. Lao Jiao's parents were both silent people. They only smiled at Zhang Xiangbei, but really, Zhang Xiangbei couldn't understand. Zhang Xiangbei and Lao Jiao drank. Lao Jiao's father did not drink, but ate rice with his mother. The two of them finished eating quickly and left, leaving only Lao Jiao and his sister to accompany Zhang Xiangbei. Zhang Xiangbei and Lao Jiao were sitting across from each other drinking. Her sister's main job was to serve them. She helped them barbecue and make sukiyaki. There was a charcoal stove on the table, and a grill for barbecue was placed on the charcoal stove. Zhang Xiangbei looked around. He saw that there was no fume extraction equipment for indoor barbecue, and there were no fireworks. Zhang Xiangbei asked Lao Jiao and the others why. Lao Jiao said that the main charcoal used here is chrysanthemum charcoal. As Lao Jiao spoke, He picked up a piece of charcoal and showed it to Zhang Xiangbei. Zhang Xiangbei saw that the cross-sectional shape of the charcoal was indeed like a blooming chrysanthemum. The chrysanthemum charcoal on the market now is becoming more and more confusing. Many of them are shoddy. Real chrysanthemum charcoal, like this, has no smoke, no open flames, and is unlikely to emit sparks. This kind is made of cherry wood. Only the charcoal produced by the charcoal can be called chrysanthemum charcoal, while other charcoal made from apple trees, pear trees, etc. can only be called fruit charcoal at best, and there is still a difference, my sister told Zhang Xiangbei. While helping them grill the meat, my sister explained to Zhang Xiangbei the standards for grading Japanese Wagyu beef. Zhang Xiangbei said to his sister, I know that Kobe Wagyu beef ranges from a 5 to a 1, with a 5 being the highest grade. Is that so? My sister looked at Zhang Xiangbei and said with a smile, that is not the case, but everyone is used to talking about a 5 to a 1. In fact, there are 15 levels of Wagyu beef from a 5 a 1 to B5 B1 and C5 C1. Only those above a 3 can be called Kobe Wagyu, others can only be called Wagyu. A 5 is indeed the highest level, but it can actually be subdivided. The letters A, B, C and the numbers 1 to 5 represent two grading systems. One is called yield grade, which is also called yield grade. It calculates the amount of meat produced in a certain part, and then refers to the thickness of the meat, the thickness of subcutaneous fat, etc. as the judging criteria. They are represented by letters A, B, and C. A is good, with a meat yield of more than 72%, B is a general standard, with a meat yield of 69–72%, and C is poor, with a meat yield of less than 69%. The higher the grade, the more complete the development of the meat. There is also quality grade, which is represented by numbers 1 to 5. It consists of 4 items: oil ratio and texture distribution, meat color, muscle texture and firmness, and fat quality and color. For identification, give scores from 1 to 5, with the higher the number indicating better quality. Zhang Xiangbei understood that this is how the so-called A5, A3, A4, etc. came to be. My sister said, the evaluation is very strict, and the result is based on the lowest score, not the highest score. For example, the first 3 evaluation points of this piece of meat are all 5 points, but in the end, the fat quality and color only scored 3 points. Then the final grade of this piece of meat is not a 5, but a 3, based on the lowest score. In each sub-item, there are also more detailed scoring standards, such as the oil-flour ratio and texture distribution, which are divided into No 01 to number 12, corresponding to levels 1 to 5, No 08. All grades up to number 12 are level 5, but only when the oil-flour ratio reaches 56.3% or above can you obtain number 12, which divides a 5 into 5 oil-flour ratio levels. It's really complicated, Zhang Xiangbei said. Yes, but it is a small level difference, and the price is much different. A 5 is a top-grade product, but not the best. A 5 with number 12 and full marks in the other 3 categories will be the best. But this kind of beef is almost no one has seen it, said my sister. This is like a record that needs people to break, Zhang Xiangbei said. That's right, my sister said with a smile, and put a piece of beef roasted to medium rare on the plate in front of Zhang Xiangbei, asking him to taste it. Zhang Xiangbei picked it up with chopsticks and put it in his mouth. His eyes widened immediately. It was indeed tender and juicy and melted in his mouth. It was better than all the 5 Kobe beef he had ever eaten. Lao Jiao and his sister laughed when they saw Zhang Xiangbei's exaggerated expression. Zhang Xiangbei told them his feelings. His sister asked Zhang Xiangbei, "Where did you eat the 5 Kobe beef?" "America," Zhang Xiangbei said. My sister nodded and understood. She and Zhang Xiangbei said, "That's because the methods of acid elimination are different. After the live cattle are slaughtered and naturally cooled to normal temperature, they are sent to the cooling room. The fixed temperature, humidity, and wind speed will decompose the lactic acid component in the beef into carbon dioxide, water and alcohol, and then evaporate. At the same time, the macromolecule adenosine triphosphate in the cells will, under the action of enzymes, it is decomposed into the umami substance IMP. This process is an important process of beef acidification. After acidification, the pH of the beef is changed, and the metabolic products are decomposed and excreted to the greatest extent, thereby becoming harmless. At the same time, the molecular structure of the meat is changed, and the taste is fresh and tender, which is beneficial to the body's absorption and digestion. My sister and Zhang Xiangbei said, there are two ways to remove acid, one is freezing, and the other is refrigeration. Freezing instantly lowers the temperature to -60 degrees, so that the beef can be quickly frozen to lock in freshness. Such beef has a long shelf life. Long, up to 2 years. There is another method, which is refrigeration. It is refrigerated in a refrigerator at 0 to 4 degrees Celsius. The refrigerated beef will be more delicious than the frozen one, but the storage time is shorter. In Japan, refrigerated beef is generally used for acidification. Those exported to the United States, Europe, and other places are usually frozen and acidified, so the same piece of meat tastes different in Japan and in the United States. It's really a great experience. I enjoy eating such delicious meat roasted by my sister and listening to my sister say so much, Zhang Xiangbei said with a smile. My sister's technique of grilling meat is very light. She uses tongs to turn the barbecue, as if she is afraid of burning the beef. Her slender white fingers are dancing as if she is playing the piano. Every time her sister looks at Zhang Xiangbei, she is like smiling gently at him. Zhang Xiangbei couldn't connect the person in front of him with his sister who suffered from domestic violence and was pitiful in Laoqiao. Zhang Xiangbei and Lao Qiao were drinking and eating barbecue, and their sister cooked sukiyaki for them. Sukiyaki originated in Kansai, so it could be said that it was the right place for them to eat it here. Zhang Xiangbei saw his sister making sukiyaki and saw her fingers dancing. He felt that it was quite enjoyable to watch, not to mention eating. Zhang Xiangbei and Lao Qiao didn't finish eating until after 9 o'clock. Their sister asked them to leave and she came to clean up. Zhang Xiangbei and Lao Qiao returned to the room. Lao Qiao helped Zhang Xiangbei find a bathrobe and bath towel and asked him to go. Soaking in hot springs, Lao Qiao said, is the most enjoyable time for you to go to hot springs at this time. Aren't you going together? Zhang Xiangbei asked. I'll talk about it later. Lao Qiao took out his laptop and said to Zhang Xiangbei, I want to write down what you said to me during the day immediately. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll forget what you said today. It's very complete and I can finish the report in the evening, so that I can play with peace of mind in the next few days. I never saw you being so diligent when I was studying, Zhang Xiangbei said. It's different now. You have to work hard now. If you don't work hard, you will be eliminated, Lao Qiao said. Go ahead. You can lie down there and sleep. I've written it. You can help me read it again, especially if you look at it. Are there any errors in the relevant data? Zhang Xiangbei said yes. Zhang Xiangbei took a bath towel, opened the door, put on wooden clogs, and walked towards the hot spring bathroom. Thank you for your monthly votes from Shachin Mood, Daodu, Favorite Go-To, U20051224, and Book Friends 202002031632014442. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Xiniang. Chapter 2207. The path leading to the hot spring bathhouse is paved with cobblestones. When the wooden clogs step on the cobblestones, they make a clicking sound, like a horse's hoof. The sound seems vast and distant in this mountain night, and it splashes echoes all around. Zhang Xiangbei looked up. The sky was clear and dark blue. The moon was big and round. It looked innocent and cold. It didn't seem to care whether you looked at it or not, and it seemed to be watching it too. You, question, what are you looking at? I don't know if it's because of the gurgling hot springs in this valley, but the entire valley is shrouded in a layer of white mist. Whether it's the pasture or the house in front of me, the surrounding trees and mountain shadows are all edgy. Zhang Xiangbei stood there and took a deep breath. The air was crisp and clear, and there was a faint smell of sulfur. He could not feel it during the day, but at night, it became almost non-existent. Zhang Xiangbei walked and stopped. As he walked, he heard a clicking sound. The sound seemed to be multiple, coming from himself, and it seemed that there were several people walking with him. When it stopped, everything fell silent. Because of the mist, the moon casts his shadow on the ground. The shadow is also rough-edged and looks wet. Zhang Xiangbei stood there and looked around and above his head. The sky was so vast that it made people want to cry, laugh, and want to wander freely in this space, like a fish. Zhang Xiangbei sighed a little at this time. He sighed that he didn't have the skills like his father and uncle Xiaoshu, otherwise, he could draw all of this. Zhang Xiangbei sighed softly, and immediately, he heard someone sighing somewhere. Zhang Xiangbei quickly looked around, and there was no one else except himself. Zhang Xiangbei didn't feel scared at all. He stood and thought for a while, understood, and couldn't help but laugh. It was so quiet here, like a pool of still water, and the slightest sound could cause ripples and echoes. Zhang Xiangbei laughed softly, and sure enough, someone somewhere laughed too. There are no windows in the hot spring bathroom. There is a door frame but no door panel. There is a dim light inside. Maybe it is not that the light is dim, but that there is a thicker fog there, which filters the light into a dim color. Zhang Xiangbei looked at the dim cloud at the door. He couldn't tell for a moment whether it was the light or the water vapor that diffused from the door. There was a fog ball at the door. Zhang Xiangbei walked towards the fog ball. Go. Zhang Xiangbei walked into the hot spring bathroom. The smell of sulfur seemed to be stronger than outside. Zhang Xiangbei took off his bathrobe and hung it on the coat hook by the door. He also hung his bath towel there. Walking to the edge of the pool, there was a step stretching from the edge to the bottom of the pool. Zhang Xiangbei stood in it. The water was slightly hot. Zhang Xiangbei got used to it, and then walked down step by step. Zhang Xiangbei stood in the pool. The water was up to his waist. If it was an old bridge, the water should have reached his chest. Zhang Xiangbei walked a few steps forward and walked to the opposite side. There was a stone bench opposite the pool. He sat on it as if he were sitting on a chair. The stone pool is very wide. Zhang Xiangbei moved his butt forward, and he could maintain a very comfortable half-lying position. He tilted his head back and leaned against the wall of the pool. The water below was flowing slowly. Seems to be trying to lift your body up, but it is not strong enough, leaving you in a state of being far away from the stone below, a little light. The water temperature in the pool is high, and the smell of sulfur comes from the water. The body is also greasy, as if it is covered with a thin layer. At the beginning, people's breathing will be a little rapid, and they want to crawl out of this place. The pool, but after a while, I felt a lazy feeling. I opened my arms and felt that my hands were like fins in the water, paddling along with the current, almost unconsciously. This bathroom is entirely made of wood, and even the roof is made of wooden boards. Over time, there are gaps between the wooden boards. Zhang Xiangbei can see a bright ray of moon from the gaps between the boards. If it's raining or snowing, rain and snow will probably leak through these gaps, but it doesn't matter. People lying in the hot spring will not feel bothered at all, but will feel that it has a unique flavor. Zhang Xiangbei lay there halfway, closing his eyes. He heard the sound of water gurgling from the gaps in the stone, the subtle sound of water flowing, and from time to time, water condensed on the top of the wooden board. The beads dropped and made a ding-dong sound. Zhang Xiangbei paddled his hands, and the water made a swishing sound. When his hands stopped, the world returned to its original state. When he opened his eyes, he saw mist swirling around him. When he closed his eyes, he could only hear his own breathing. The water flowed slowly. When the water slid over his body, it was like a pair of white and slender fingers gently gliding across his body. Zhang Xiangbei remembered that he and Xiongnan often played this kind of game. When Zhang Xiangbei lay on the bed, Xiongnan hand would stand on his back, cross his two fingers, and start walking. Just like walking on the stage, sometimes quickly, sometimes finely, sometimes like a dragonfly touching water, Zhang Xiangbei often falls asleep deeply under such steps. Zhang Xiangbei let out a sigh of relief. He didn't know what Xiongnan was doing now. Gradually getting used to the water temperature, I also felt that the smell of sulfur was not so pungent, but made me feel a little tipsy. In addition, Zhang Xiangbei and Lao Qiao drank very late last night, and today they got up because they were on their way. It was early in the morning, and Zhang Xiangbei felt a little sleepy at this time. He was half lying there, with the back of his head resting on the edge of the pool, almost falling asleep. Dimly, he seemed to hear the sound of wooden clogs, not the clicking of wooden clogs, but a little lighter, stepping closer and closer. Zhang Xiangbei was half lying there without moving. He thought, must be it was Lao Qiao who was halfway through writing his report and couldn't go on. He wanted to come over and ask him about some of the content, or take a dip in the hot springs first. The visitor walked into the hot spring bathroom. Zhang Xiangbei opened his eyes slightly and was stunned. He saw that it was not Lao Qiao who came in, but his sister in a bathrobe. Zhang Xiangbei suddenly became nervous. He was half lying there without daring to move. He thought that his sister didn't see him because the light in the bathroom was poor and it was foggy. He didn't dare to open his eyes, but he couldn't close them completely. Pretending to be asleep, the only thought in his mind was that he hoped his sister would see his bathrobe and towel hanging by the door, turn around and walk out, so that he could get out of the water. You must know that he is not wearing anything, because Lao Qiao told him that bathing in hot springs in Japan is a sacred thing. He cannot wear anything because any clothes are dirty. This is also a violation of other people's rights. Disrespectful. Zhang Xiangbei didn't even dare to say hello to his sister. He could only continue to pretend to be asleep, but he still kept a slit in his eyes and watched his sister's every move. My sister looked over and smiled. Zhang Xiangbei didn't know if she was smiling with him. If so, she must have seen him. The sister's next move not only made Zhang Xiangbei conclude that she must have seen him, but Zhang Xiangbei's face instantly became hot. He saw his sister turn around and take off her bathrobe. Her slender white figure was hazy in the mist. My sister hung the bathrobe next to Zhang Xiangbei's, then picked up the bath towel and wrapped it around her chest. My sister turned around, walked to the step, raised her right foot, straightened her instep, inserted her toes into the water, and quickly took it out, as if to test the temperature of the water. She chuckled lightly, and then put her foot in again. She took the first step in the water, which looked a little naughty and silly. She raised her head and looked at Zhang Xiangbei. Zhang Xiangbei felt that his whole body was petrified. Although there was the sound of water rushing, Zhang Xiangbei felt that the air in the entire hot spring bathroom had solidified. But my sister acted as if nothing had happened, with a natural expression. She didn't seem to mind at all that Zhang Xiangbei was sitting 3 or 4 meters away, and continued walking down step by step. Zhang Xiangbei's thoughts were racing, and then he remembered that Lao Qiao had told him before that in Japan, when bathing in hot springs, there is a custom of men and women bathing together. In public bathrooms, a group of men and a group of women also take a dip in a pool. Thinking of this, Zhang Xiangbei breathed a sigh of relief and said to himself, customs, customs, this is other people's customs, they have no distracting thoughts, but you are dirty and stingy. Zhang Xiangbei stopped pretending to be asleep, sat up straight, said hello to his sister, clamped his legs together, and put his hands in front of him pretending to be casual. The elder sister also smiled at Zhang Xiangbei and stepped on the bottom of the pool. The water just covered her chest. She reached out and took off the bath towel and put it on the edge of the pool. Then she walked towards Zhang Xiangbei. Zhang Xiangbei suddenly became nervous again, but at this time he had no way to escape. He had already said hello to others, and it was impossible to pretend to be asleep. The pool was only so small, and he had no place to hide. As his sister got closer and closer, Zhang Xiangbei looked below him, quickly slid down from the stone chair he was sitting on, and stood in the water. This way, he could at least hide his lower body in the water. My sister came over, her whole body clearly visible. Zhang Xiangbei smiled a little stiffly, and raised his head a little, so that his eyes stayed on his sister's face and top of the head, instead of looking down. The elder sister still smiled so gently. She walked to the edge of Zhang Xiangbei, turned around and sat on the stone. Like Zhang Xiangbei in front of her, she was half lying there, tilting her head back, and took a deep breath. He looked like he was enjoying himself. Zhang Xiangbei stood with his back against Shigang, feeling extremely embarrassed. He could only quietly move his seat so that his side was facing his sister, and he did not dare to turn his head and look over there. The breath of her sister smelled very good, lingering together with the smell of sulfur, and penetrated Zhang Xiangbei's nose. Zhang Xiangbei could hear her even breathing and the ding of water drops falling from the top. Boom sound. Neither of the two people spoke. Zhang Xiangbei felt that there was a smell of danger in the air. This approaching danger strangely made his whole body feel hot. If he looked in the mirror, Zhang Xiangbei knew that he must be full of blush. Zhang Xiangbei thought about Xiangnan. He closed his eyes and let his mind be filled with Xiangnan. He told himself, it's okay, customs, these are other people's customs. When he was thinking this way, he was distracted and what he saw in front of him was no longer Xiangnan, but his sister, the sister who was so close at hand, like a star, smiling gently at him. Zhang Xiangbei shook his head, drove his sister's shadow away from his eyes, and thought about Xiangnan again. He thought about Xiangnan's fingers on his back, walking unsteadily, rustling, rusty, just walking like this. Zhang Xiangbei was shocked. He felt that something was indeed moving on his back, but it was not Xiangnan's fingers, but the slight breath blowing on his back. His sister didn't know when she also stood up. In the pool, she was standing behind him, Zhang Xiangbei could feel it. Zhang Xiangbei stood there dumbfounded, not daring to express his anger. The sister stretched out her hands from behind, hugged him, and then put her face on his neck. Zhang Xiangbei could feel her body that was hotter than hot spring water, her smooth skin, and her breasts rising and falling. It's okay, this is someone else's. Zhang Xiangbei stood there motionless. He kept talking to himself, but he was already pale and weak. It's impossible, this can't be some kind of custom. Zhang Xiangbei tried his best. When I think about Xiangnan, my sister's shadow is all in front of my eyes. Zhang Xiangbei stood there without moving, and there was another desire in his heart, which seemed to prompt him to turn around and hug his sister. Zhang Xiangbei tried his best to tell himself, it's okay, Zhang Xiangbei, you can withstand the test. My sister's body trembled slightly, and then she pressed her face against Zhang Xiangbei's back and sobbed softly. Zhang Xiangbei was shocked, and suddenly thought that some things cannot be tested, especially yourself, because you cannot afford the price of failure in the test. Zhang Xiangbei reached out and held his sister's hand holding him, and separated her. In a panic, Zhang Xiangbei said, I'm sorry, in Chinese. He waded through the water and walked towards the steps. He walked up the steps, not caring that he was wet, grabbed his bathrobe, put it on, and walked out of the door. Thanks to Brokeback Mountain, Two Fishes, Fat Brother, and Book Friend 854-974 for the rewards. Thank you to Fat Brother, Zonkai 727, you know if a book is good, Tiger Dazzles the World, Little Gatekeeper, Deep Road, Fantasy in the Wind, and Mr. SGN for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 2208. It was almost 10 o'clock when Zhang Xiangbei and Lao Jiao woke up. They went to the restaurant to have breakfast. They didn't see their sister. Only Lao Jiao's mother was there. Zhang Xiangbei looked around and Lao Jiao said to his mother. After saying a few words, he turned around and said to Zhang Xiangbei. There was an emergency at my sister's company and I asked her to go back. My sister said if you have any questions, just call her. Zhang Xiangbei nodded and said yes, feeling relieved for a long time. Fortunately, his sister had left. Otherwise, he would be a little embarrassed to face her again today. For some reason, Zhang Xiangbei felt a little empty in his heart when his sister left. He knew that his sister definitely didn't leave in such a hurry because of something happening in the company. While thinking this way, Zhang Xiangbei's sister's gentle smiling face appeared in his mind again. After breakfast, Lao Jiao led Zhang Xiangbei around, and then went to the homes of two other cattle farmers. Their cattle sheds were roughly the same as those of Lao Jiao's house. As my sister said, raising cattle there is a very strict process and rules. When he got home, it was almost 1 o'clock. After a brief lunch, Zhang Xiangbei began to read the report written by Lao Jiao. Lao Jiao said that his brain was empty and he needed a rest, so he fell down and fell asleep. Lao Qiao's report was written in Japanese. Zhang Xiangbei didn't understand Japanese, so he used translation software to translate it into English with one click. The translation was full of grammatical loopholes. Zhang Xiangbei struggled to read it. It was hard to finish it and his eyes were dazzled. I fell down on the tatami and slept for a while. When I fell asleep, my sister's shadow was all in my dreams, and I even dreamed that I and my sister were having an affair. Zhang Xiangbei was frightened and woke up in a cold sweat. However, he felt a little unwilling to wake up. He scolded himself as a beast and then a gangster. His mouth was dry and he picked up a bottle of water. He drank it in a gulp. Zhang Xiangbei looked at his watch. It was already 3 o'clock, and Lao Jiao was still sleeping like a pig. Zhang Xiangbei kicked Lao Jiao awake and said to him, "Aren't you leaving today? It's already 3 o'clock, why aren't you leaving yet?" Lao Jiao muttered it's still early, turned over, and fell asleep again. Zhang Xiangbei also fell down. He wanted to sleep but didn't dare to sleep. He wanted to continue dreaming about his sister but was afraid of dreaming. He opened his eyes and watched. He didn't know how he finally fell asleep while leaning against the ceiling. When Zhang Xiangbei woke up again, he was woken up by Lao Jiao. He didn't have any dreams this time. Zhang Xiangbei was feeling lucky in his heart. Lao Jiao said, "You're so noisy when you're asleep." "What's wrong with me?" Zhang Xiangbei asked. "You are calling someone," Lao Jiao said. Zhang Xiangbei suddenly became nervous. He was afraid that he was calling his sister in his dream, so he quickly asked Lao Jiao, "What is my name?" Lao Jiao smiled and said, "You called it in Chinese, how do I know?" Zhang Xiangbei sighed secretly. Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei said, "Let's go, it's almost time." Zhang Xiangbei looked at the time. It was already past 4 o'clock and asked, "Where should we go at this time?" "Good place." Lao Jiao smiled mysteriously at Zhang Xiangbei. This time they took a different path than when they came here. Zhang Xiangbei judged from the railroad tracks and the sea that flashed out from time to time on the roadside that they should have been walking along the seaside. The blue sea that flashed out from time to time, it should be the Sea of Japan. The car drove for more than half an hour, and the shadow of a small town appeared in front. Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei said, "We have arrived and we will stay here for the night." "Where is this?" Zhang Xiangbei asked. Jorasaki Old Hashi said, "It's a famous hot spring place in Japan. It doesn't seem to be far from your home." "Yes, it is in the north of Toyooka City, and our home is in the south, only more than 10 kilometers apart in the middle," Lao Qiao said. Lao Jiao parked the car outside the town, and the two of them walked in with backpacks on their backs. As soon as they entered the town, Zhang Xiangbei fell in love with it. There was a river in the middle of the town. Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei said, "This river is called Daxishuan. Weeping willows are planted on both sides of the Daxi River. There are bridges across the river, including stone, wooden, and cement bridges. There are lanterns standing on the stone and wooden bridge ends. There are lanterns installed on the pillars of the railings by the river. A square street lamp with ukiyo-e-style paintings painted on it, depicting the scenery of Kinosaki." When Zhang Xiangbei saw the scenery here, he immediately felt that it was very similar to the Meisi riverside. However, there are streets on both sides of the river here, and the streets are lined with restaurants, shops, and public hot spring baths. What surprised Zhang Xiangbei the most was that the men, women, and children on the street were all wearing clogs and various styles of yukata, and were holding small bags in their hands, which contained a change of clothes and toiletries. It was obvious at a glance that this place was. It is a hot spring town, or a bathing town. People walking on the street seem to be leisurely at home. The main entrance is the station, the living room is the hotel, and the corridor is the main road. The hot spring street as a whole serves the tourists who come for hot spring recuperation. The spirit of coexistence and common prosperity has always been carried forward here, said Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei. There are a total of 7 unique public bathhouses in Kinosaki. For tourists here, a tour of the public bathhouses is an essential item, that is, soaking in all 7 public bathhouses. "The people you see, they are all on a foreign soup parade," Lao Qiao added. They walked to a 2-story house in the middle of the street. Lao Jiao let Zhang Xiangbei in. This house was very similar to AB/U0026B in China. There was a small front hall at the entrance. Entering the front hall, on the right-hand side next to it is a wooden shelf, with pairs of wooden clogs placed on the shelf for guests to choose. The front hall is small but very exquisite. Lao Jiao must be an acquaintance here, a woman who looks like a boss lady. She smiled and bowed to them when she saw them coming in. The two of them got a card from the landlady. Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei said that with this card, they could go to all the soup restaurants on the street to enter for free. Zhang Xiangbei nodded, which understood why he said the town is just one store. The landlady also gave Zhang Xiangbei a tour guide map, which showed the introduction of 7 foreign restaurants. Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei said that each foreign restaurant has a commemorative medal, and tourists take this to go to a restaurant. Put a commemorative medal on it. Behind the front hall is a garden, and there is a hot spring bath in the garden. Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei said that each hotel has its own bath, but everyone still likes to go to the outer hot spring, and cruising the outer hot spring is the most interesting. They went upstairs from the stairs next to the garden. Zhang Xiangbei and Lao Qiao were 2 adjacent rooms. The room was not luxurious, but it was clean and tidy. There was a window facing the street outside. Zhang Xiangbei walked to the window. In front of him, he saw weeping willows, Daxishuan, and the streets on both sides. Zhang Xiangbei fell in love with this room instantly. The two people put down their luggage, put on the yukata and clogs prepared by the hotel for them, and went out to go on a tour. As they walked, Lao Jiao introduced Zhang Xiangbei. Jozaki has been very famous since the Heian period. It has a history of more than 1,300 years. It was called Tajima Hot Spring in ancient times. In the Edo period, Kinosaki Hot Spring was rated as the best spring in the sea, which is also the #1 hot spring in Japan spring. Due to geographical reasons, aristocrats and literati from Osaka and Kyoto like to come here to recuperate. However, it was the representative writer of the Shirakawa school in modern Japan, Shigeneya, who made this place known throughout Japan when he was recovering here in 1917. Based on his own understanding of life, he wrote the famous article in Kinosaki, which made Kinosaki famous far and wide. Lao Chiao said, remembering, he said, "Let's go, I will take you to the first outdoor soup." Zhang Xiangbei followed Lao Chiao and walked forward on the street with clogs clattering. The girls passing by them all smelled very good, the fresh breath after just taking a bath. Watching them, the figure walking in front, the girl puts on clogs and walks with a very enchanting posture. Lao Chiao took Zhang Xiangbei to a bathhouse not far from where they lived. The building of this bathhouse was very inconspicuous. It was a low house, huddled between the two houses on the side. They squeezed in, and there was a willow tree as thick as an arm at the door. Lao Chiao pointed to the willow tree and said, "Brother, look at this willow tree." Zhang Xiangbei looked up and down the willow tree, but didn't see anything special. Zhang Xiangbei asked, "What's so special about it?" "It was moved from other places." "Do you know where it was moved from?" Lao Chiao asked. Zhang Xiangbei shook his head and said, "How could I know? Don't lie." "West Lake, your West Lake in Hangzhou was moved here. It is said that the hot spring water here flows from under this willow tree. Did you see that this outdoor hot spring restaurant is called Lutang?" "I'll go, I'm still a fellow countryman." Zhang Xiangbei looked at the willow tree again and asked, "Should I hold it and cry bitterly?" "It should be," Lao Chiao said seriously with a straight face. The two of them swiped their cards to enter. Liutang has outdoor and indoor pools. Along the way, Zhang Xiangbei was still worried whether the public bathrooms here were for men and women. If so, they would still feel awkward. After arriving here, they found out that there were men's pools. Soup and female soup. Zhang Xiangbei breathed a sigh of relief and asked Lao Chiao, "Is there no pool where men and women can bathe together?" "Do you like men and women bathing together?" Lao Chiao asked. "Then when you go back in the evening, I will ask the landlady to call it for you. It can be done in the hotel's hot spring room. There are no public bathrooms for men and women to bathe together now." Zhang Xiangbei said quickly, No, I just heard you say it before and I'm just curious." "I don't know when it will slowly disappear," Lao Chiao said. "When we were in junior high school, it was common for men and women to bathe together. Now, like me in Tokyo, there are still such soup houses, but you have to look for them specially. You must soak naked in the soup pool here. Before entering the pool, there is a vat and ladle at the entrance. Two people need to take the ladle and bathe themselves before entering the pool." The pool was filled with mist, and Zhang Xiangbei was still half lying there. As soon as he closed his eyes, everything about last night was vividly in his mind. Zhang Xiangbei felt a little sad as he recalled the gentle sobs. "Thank you Hu, Musishiksenrenwei, and Chiyo 202201161129588946 for your monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone." The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 2209. Kinosaka's 7 outdoor hot springs include, in addition to Yanagi Hot Springs, Jizo Hot Springs, Ichino Hot Springs, Gosho Hot Springs, Sato Hot Springs, Kono Hot Springs and Mandala Hot Springs. Mandala, a flower name that originated in Mexico, seems to have become popular in Japan, and then brought back to China with Udafu and Su Manchu, literati who studied in Japan in their early years or were born in Japan. The term was also popular in China during the Republic of China and became romantic. Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei soaked in Liuyutang for an hour. After coming out, they went to the second Gos Ho No Yu. The locals called Gos Ho No Yu Miren soup. The reason why it was called Miren soup was Lao Jiao said. I'll tell you after I get in. The two of them didn't eat much for lunch. They were sitting in the lobby of the Gos Ho No Yu decorated with huge ukiyo-e murals. Lao Jiao asked Zhang Xiangbei if he was hungry, and Zhang Xiangbei said he was. You wait, buddy. As Lao Jiao said this, he took out his mobile phone. Zhang Xiangbei smiled and said, Why, you still want to order takeout? Yes, Lao Jiao said. He then dialed the phone and chatted to the other party in Japanese for a while. After putting down the phone, he said to Zhang Xiangbei. Okay, he's here. Zhang Xiangbei didn't understand and asked, What did you order, and you made it so quickly and delivered it to you? Lao Jiao laughed, knowing that Zhang Xiangbei had misunderstood. He said. It's not done and delivered, but it's cooked at the door. I ordered the fried soba noodles. The man who made the noodles was an uncle who drove a mobile cooking truck. We locals all know that his home cup ramen is very good. Eat, if you feel hungry while soaking in the hot springs, he will drive over with just a phone call, prepare it at the door and then bring it in. The two of them waited for less than 10 minutes, and sure enough, they saw a very thin man coming in with a tray containing 2 bowls of soba noodles. No need to say hello, the uncle knew Lao Jiao. He came directly to them and put the noodles on the table in front of them. Lao Jiao asked Zhang Xiangbei to try it, and Zhang Xiangbei took a bite. As expected, the soup was delicious and spicy, and the noodles were chewy and chewy. Lao Jiao asked how it was. Zhang Xiangbei said, It's delicious. Even for you Japanese, it's too troublesome to sit or kneel on the ground like this when eating. It feels like your stomach is being squeezed. If you eat sitting on a stool, it's too much trouble. Happy. Lao Jiao patted the table and said to Zhang Xiangbei, You can sit here and eat. Go, I don't want to be embarrassed in Japan and be thought of as a monkey, Zhang Xiangbei said, and Lao Jiao laughed. After eating the noodles, they felt much better. The two of them got up, took a shower first as usual, and then walked into the hot spring at the back. The hot spring here is built at the foot of the mountain and is divided into inner and outer chambers, but the inner and outer chambers are separated by wood and large pieces of glass. You can also see the lush mountains outside from the inner chamber. Whether it is an inner room or an outer room, the shape of the hot spring bath is the same. It is surrounded by huge pebbles. People soaking in the pool can use these pebbles as backrests, sit, or half lie down. The pool is not big, and there are already 3 people soaking in the pool in the inner room. Zhang Xiangbei heard that they were still speaking in Chinese, and he couldn't tell for a moment whether they were Taiwanese who spoke Mandarin with a strong accent, or mainlanders who spoke Southern Mandarin. People. The two of them walked to the outer room and soaked in the pool. They could see the hot spring water gurgling down from a huge rock at the foot of the mountain like a small waterfall. Zhang Xiangbei thought to himself, if it were winter and the mountains were all white, the mountains would be white. Wouldn't it be more interesting to soak in the hot springs and enjoy the snow here? Because of the gurgling hot spring water, compared with the inner room, the open-air outer room is shrouded in mist. Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei said, You know why this place is called Beauty Hot Spring? Look, the waves of mist are drifting into the room. On your face, are you steaming your face? It has beautifying effect, so it is called beauty soup. It's far-fetched, Zhang Xiangbei said, I don't think so. Then you have a different explanation, Lao Jiao asked. Yes, Zhang Xiangbei said, I think when men and women bathe together, if there is a woman on the opposite side of the pool, even if she is ugly, she can feel a hazy beauty and become a beauty. When Zhang Xiangbei said this, he thought of his sister. However, her sister was inherently beautiful and did not need to be covered by fog. Lao Jiao laughed loudly and said, Okay, your explanation is better than mine, and it makes people think more. By the way, Zhang Xiangbei said, do the hot springs here have outdoor rooms? One family is not there, and another is in a cave. What's wrong? Lao Jiao asked. I'm wondering if the word outer soup means not only a public bath, but also an open-air bath. Anyway, in our Chinese understanding, like here, the inside would be called the inner soup, and the outside here would be called the inner soup. It will be called Weitang, Zhang Xiangbei said. Lao Jiao thought for a moment and said, what you said makes sense, but in Japanese, we have a special word for open-air hot springs, called open-air bath. Feng bath means bathing, like in Shirahama hot spring over there are many open-air baths by the sea that can be reserved. The two of them were soaking in the pool, talking endlessly, and watching the sky getting dark little by little. They were ready to go to the next hot spring. Wait a moment. The two walked back to the lobby with ukiyo murals, Lao Qiao and Zhang Xiangbei said. He walked away after saying that, and came back after a while, holding a cloth bag in his hand. He took out the contents of the cloth bag, which were several books, and said to Zhang Xiangbei solemnly. This was in 2013, to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Naya Shiga's coming to Kinosaki. A local group in Kinosaki launched a book and hot spring publishing event and invited well-known designers in Japan to help design it. This series of books hopes that in this era when everyone is holding a smartphone every day, they can pick up paper books to read again. I also hope that through this event, we can continue the literary atmosphere of Kinosaki. Zhang Xiangbei heard Lao Jiao mention the name Shigeneya again. He didn't know what this Shigeneya was, but seeing that Lao Jiao said it so seriously, he felt embarrassed to go against him. This whole small town, everyone is proud of this guy. Probably this Shigeneya is some kind of great person. Anyway, I don't know any Japanese writers. Lao Jiao was so serious, so Zhang Xiangbei also became serious. Lao Qiao held two palm-sized books and said to Zhang Xiangbei, this is in Kinosaki by Naya Shiga. The original book and the annotated version come in a set of two. This was designed by Shio Haranchi. By the way, brother, do you know the original history of Shiwei? Zhang Xiangbei shook his head and thought, I only know bullshit and dog shit. Lao Jiao rolled his eyes at him and said, he is the soul of R25. Do you know, forget it, he is a very famous designer. He designed this book to be so big just for convenience. Put it in your yukata pocket and take it with you, so you can take it out and read it at any time. Zhang Xiangbei thought to himself, if the design is like this, does he count as a designer? I know how to do it, and I can design it even smaller. Lao Jiao then took out a book wrapped in a towel and said to Zhang Xiangbei. This is the famous writer Man Mujimanabu who has won the Naoki Award. He was invited by a group here to follow the footsteps of Shigeneya and travel around to experience it. The final completed work was bound and designed by Rikako Nagashima. Lao Jiao was too lazy to explain who was who to Zhang Xiangbei and continued. Look at this book. The outside is wrapped in a towel as a book cover, and the inside is made of waterproof paper, so you can read it even when you are soaking in the hot spring. Zhang Xiangbei laughed, this is interesting. By the way, you haven't told me what the title of this book is yet. Jagazaka Judge Lao Qiao said. Lao Jiao then picked up a book. This book was long and narrow, like a big matchbox. When pushed out from the inside, it was a book. The color of the outside box was like a cooked crab. There was a plush feeling in his hands, like touching the shell of a crab. Zhang Xiangbei said to Lao Jiao. The outer cover of this book looks like a crab shell. Lao Qiao laughed and said, now you are right. The designer's creativity really comes from Matsuba crab, because Matsuba crab plays an important role in it. You have always read Confession, all right? I think I've seen a movie, Zhang Xiangbei said. Okay, this is Return to Kinosaki written by Connie Minato, the writer of Confessions. It tells the story of a woman who once visited Kinosaki Onsen with her mother. After breaking up with her lover and quitting her job, she returned here again. It's a very beautiful story. Very nice. It's pretty but useless, Zhang Xiangbei scolded. It's all in Japanese. Are you Japanese so arrogant? You know that there will be many foreign tourists coming here, but you don't know how to print the Chinese and English versions. Lao Qiao laughed and said, the original flavor is interesting. Is it interesting that you came here to buy a Chinese book and take it back? Let me tell you, almost everyone who comes to Kinosaki will buy these books and take them back. To commemorate. Why? Zhang Xiangbei asked. Because these books can only be bought here, you can't buy them in bookstores in Tokyo or online, Old Bridge said. That's not bad. When you mention it, it seems to have some commemorative significance. Zhang Xiangbei said that at the same time, he thought that he had Hayao Miyazaki's books at home that he brought back from Japan last time. It seemed that those books could only be purchased in Hayao Miyazaki's art museum. Japanese people like to do this kind of thing. Is it a marketing technique or is it just a stereotype? Aren't you printing books so that more people can read them? The two of them walked outside to the street. Zhang Xiangbei's eyes lit up. The street lights on the riverside and on the street outside were all on. The willow trees by the river looked more lush in the night. The shops on the street were of various colors and shapes. Shop signs and shop fronts of all shapes and sizes are all lit up, making them look graceful and unique. This kind of scene has become increasingly difficult to see in China. In domestic street shops, all signboards are now required to be the same size, with the same materials and specifications. Many even have the same fonts, which look very neat. But to be honest, it's ugly. There were many more pedestrians on the street than during the day. Everyone was still wearing their yukata, especially the girls. The yukata they wore were very bright, as if they were competing with each other. Everyone was walking leisurely in twos and threes, with the sound of clogs tapping. The intersection does not make people feel noisy, but instead makes them feel careless and relaxed. No more hot springs, let's go shopping, Zhang Xiangbei said to Lao Qiao. It's more interesting to go to a hot spring bathhouse and see all the naked butts than on the street, to see all the gorgeous people. Thank you Brokeback Mountain for the reward of 2 fishes. Thank you to Lao Dibao Ei, Hu, and, Hao, UN 11, Shi Yitan, Binghai Greedy Chong, Xianlei Wang, Zongkai 727, Romantic Sakura Kinfanchu, Dragon, Mi Kong Kong, 4 + 1 = 5, On the Road to a Nation, Daos Hung 123, Hyukshuanatianxia, Book Friends 160403163531329 monthly tickets. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei-Shi Niang. Chapter 2210. Zhang Xiangbei and Lao Qiao were strolling on the street. Chengzaki was very small. After a short stroll, they ended up wandering the streets on this side of the river, crossed a stone bridge over the Daxi River, and then wandered on the other side of the river. The street here is as lively as that there. Although the shops on both sides of the river are different, the overall atmosphere and temperament are the same. That side of the river and this side are like the two sides of a leaf, and the Daxi River in the middle is like the veins of the leaf. If you don't distinguish carefully, it is difficult to tell the difference between the two sides, especially for foreigners like Zhang Xiangbei who don't like to shop in stores. Zhang Xiangbei felt that if he were alone, he would probably confuse the streets on this side of the river with those on the other side. They walked forward for a while, and Lao Qiao said, "Brother, let's have something to eat." Zhang Xiangbei said yes. Lao Qiao walked into a nearby shop. Zhang Xiangbei looked up at the shop sign above his head. He knew what this place was without Lao Jiao telling him. There were 4 Chinese characters for charcoal skewers on the shop sign. This shop is a typical mom and pop shop, and it's also a mom and pop shop. The person behind the bar who is responsible for reception and service is an old woman. She laughed happily when she saw Lao Jiao, and said something to Lao Jiao, and walked out of the side door. A head emerged from the room. It was his husband, who was responsible for preparing the dishes. He also greeted Lao Jiao with a smile. Zhang Xiangbei asked Lao Jiao quietly, "How many people do you know here?" "I think almost everyone in the store knows me," Lao Bashi said. "Every time I come back from Tokyo, I always come to Kinosaki." Zhang Xiangbei was surprised and asked, "You have a hot spring at home, and you still want to come here to soak in the hot spring?" "No." Lao Jiao tapped the bar with his finger, "Come and eat." "That's right. Your home is in the countryside. When you come here, you are entering the city," Zhang Xiangbei said, and Lao Jiao laughed. The 2 of them were sitting in front of the bar. Lao Jiao was talking to Zhang Xiangbei and the old lady at the same time. There was no need to order food. The old lady and his wife seemed to know what they needed. Maybe Lao Jiao was chatting with them in front of them. After telling them what he needed, Zhang Xiangbei didn't know. Anyway, the old lady kept bringing them skewers one after another. The skewers tasted very good, including some that Zhang Xiangbei knew, such as grilled scallops, squid, shrimp, green beans, etc., as well as some fish that Zhang Xiangbei didn't know. The 2 of them drank local Kinosaki beer first. "This is 100% malt liquor and tastes good. Next, I drink a local liquor called Jizo liquor. The alcohol content is not high and the taste is, to be honest, average." But they had just soaked in the hot springs for more than 2 hours and walked around the streets. At this time, no matter how bad the wine was, it tasted like nectar. After eating, he said goodbye to the old couple. Zhang Xiangbei followed Lao Jiao and kept bowing. The 2 of them walked to the street. Lao Jiao suggested that they go back to the hotel and sleep for a while before getting up and going out to soak in the hot springs. Anyway, there are 7 hot springs outside. It was open from 2:30 in the afternoon to 10 o'clock in the morning of the next day. Zhang Xiangbei agreed. On the way back, I passed by Hongjiu, which was closed today. Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei said that one of the 7 hot springs takes turns to rest every day, exactly for a week, so you have to drink all 7 in one day. It is impossible to eat soup outside, it must be 2 days. Also, in the same hot spring, the male and female baths will rotate. Today's male bath will be the female bath tomorrow. In this way, the hot spring you went to today will be a different pool when you go there tomorrow. I'll go. This is all for people to stay here for a few more days, right? Zhang Xiangbei said. Lao Jiao chuckled, obviously yes. They passed by a store selling Tajima beef and vegetables. Zhang Xiangbei was interested in these. He went in and took a look and found that the excellent Tajima snowflake steak here was actually cheaper than domestic supermarkets. It was really unreasonable. Lao Bashi comforted him by saying that not all Tajima beef is Kobe beef. "I know, it needs to be a 3 or above, but this beef looks good," Zhang Xiangbei said. The 2 of them continued walking forward and saw a large model of a matsuba crab crawling on the wall of a store building. Needless to say, it was also a restaurant. It's a pity that it's not the season for pine leaf crab, otherwise you should try it. The pine leaf crab here is good, Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei said. They returned to the hotel and entered their rooms respectively. Zhang Xiangbei was not yet sleepy. He sat in front of the window and looked down. Looking at the street below, he felt a sense of déjà vu and a very unreal feeling. The window with it open, you can hear the sound of clogs coming from the street, and see figures in yukata appearing and disappearing among the willow leaves. Zhang Xiangbei thought that there would be nothing wrong if he went back to Hangzhou. He was a groom to be married, but he was also an exile from this society. In Hangzhou, everyone he knew was very busy, and he was the only one. People have nothing to do and spend every day in the pillow tea house. Zhang Xiangbei stood up, walked next door, and said to Lao Jiao, "You can go back to Tokyo to work alone tomorrow. I want to stay here for a few days." "Really?" Lao Jiao asked. Zhang Xiangbei nodded, and he thought that instead of going back to Hangzhou and soaking in the pillow water tea house, it would be better to soak in the hot springs here. "Have you really thought about it?" Lao Jiao asked again. Zhang Xiangbei said, "Yes, think about it. Why are you so long-winded?" Here comes Naya Shiga again. "As someone who is about to get married, you are not injured too, are you?" Old Bridge said, covering his chest. Zhang Xiangbei cursed go away and then asked, "What happened to this Shiga Naya you are talking about? Is he unable to get over it and want to end himself here?" "No, no, he was hit by a tram and came here to heal." "That was a traffic accident," Zhang Xiangbei said, and Lao Jiao was right. "If you really decide to stay, I'll give my sister a call," Lao Jiao said. Zhang Xiangbei was stunned and asked, "Why are you calling her?" "Ask her to arrange a room for you. You won't be short of money anyway." Lao Qiao smiled. "The manager of the Nishimura main building, the best hotel here, is my sister's classmate. If you live there, he can take care of you. Otherwise, we wouldn't be at ease if you were here alone." Zhang Xiangbei smiled and said, "What's there to worry about? It's me, what are you worried about?" "So what if it's you? You're here and you don't know anyone," Lao Qiao said. "By the way, the best room there, including breakfast and dinner, costs about 90,000 yen a day, which is about 5,000 RMB. "No problem." Zhang Xiangbei said, "No problem. Brother, it's not that I'm stingy and I can't bear to live there. It's just that there are no rooms there today. I think it's just for one night, here." As Lao Jiao explained, Zhang Xiangbei cursed, "That's so long-winded." Lao Jiao smiled and called his sister and told her about the matter. After a while, her sister called back again. Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei said that the reservation was made. It is the peak season now and the house in Nishimura main building is very popular. Nervous, the manager persuaded a customer to move the room he booked to a branch. Zhang Xiangbei quickly said thank you. The two of them originally planned to get up and go to the hot springs, but when they woke up, it was already bright outside and it was already past 8 o'clock in the morning. After breakfast, the two of them went downstairs, checked out of the room, and went to the Nishimura main building. Hotels in Japan usually don't check in until around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, but because my sister made the arrangement yesterday, there was no problem in the past. If the guests in the room have not left yet, a place will be arranged for them to rest. Alternatively, they can leave their luggage at the hotel, change into the hotel's yukata, and continue their outing tour. The West Village House is a group of 3 two-story old wooden houses, surrounded by an atrium and large and small side yards. It has a history of nearly 100 years. In 1925, the Great Northern Tajima earthquake with magnitude 7 occurred in the Kansai region. In this earthquake, hundreds of lives were lost in Kinosaki. At the same time, the entire ancient town with mostly wooden buildings was almost turned into a wasteland. Ruins. The head of the Nishimura family at the time was the mayor of Kinosaki. He led everyone to start post-earthquake reconstruction. The earliest Nishimura began at that time. In 1960, the architect Masaya Hirata renovated the Nishimura. After redesign and planning, the current Nishimura house is his masterpiece and has become one of the famous architectural designs in the Kansai region. Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei arrived at Nishimura. They passed through a hotel gate that resembled a mountain gate. Inside was a small parking lot and yard. Their sister's classmate, the manager of Nishimura, was waiting for them at the door of the hotel lobby. A very handsome man. The young man was also from Nishimura's family and was 2 years older than Zhang Xiangbei and Hashimoto. Hashimoto called him Jiao Wei-chan, and Zhang Xiangbei followed suit. Jiao Wei told them that Mr. Zhang was really lucky. The original guest had left early in the morning, so the room had been tidied up and could be moved in now. They needed to change their shoes when entering the lobby. Zhang Xiangbei and the others took off their shoes. A young man immediately took them away to clean and wipe them. They put on the hotel slippers. In the next few days, Zhang Xiangbei basically watched. He no longer had his own shoes, so every time he wanted to go out on the street wearing a yukata, the young man would bring him a pair of clogs and put them on. Only once, when Zhang Xiangbei was getting ready to go out in his own clothes instead of wearing a bathrobe, the young man brought over not clogs but Zhang Xiangbei's own shoes without any instructions. Knowing that he was not going to a hot spring, but I want to go for a walk on the nearby Master Mountain, or go to a more formal appointment. The young man was so diligent and smart that Zhang Xiangbei felt a little embarrassed every time he wanted to go out. But when he couldn't go out, he simply didn't go out. That's a story later. Jiao Wei led them to visit the Nishimura Museum on the first floor, which displayed the architectural design drawings and related information of Nishimura, as well as historical objects related to Kinosaki. Then, a female general led them to Zhangxiang North Room. Thank you to the passers-by Ye Buzan, Xiao Sheng Nian Fang 48, Beniang Aki, Chang Le in Pingle Village, and book friend 201707241126511879 for their monthly votes. Thanks for all the votes and reading. Have a good evening everyone. The Pentium Era, South to North. Author, Mei Shi Niang. Chapter 2211. The room was so big that it was almost empty. There was no furniture in a Japanese room. In the middle of the tatami, there was a long varnished black table. There was a chair on each side of the table. Outside, there is a short screen in the corner, with meticulous paintings of flowers and birds on it. Facing the door, the wooden lattice and paper shoji were opened, and outside was a rectangular cubicle. On the tatami of the cubicle, there were a coffee table and 4 chairs. There were tea sets on the coffee table. To the outside of the cubicle was the entire surface is covered with glass, and outside the glass is an exquisite Japanese-style dry landscape garden. The garden is covered with white sand and decorated with stone groups and pine trees. It is simple, ethereal, and zen-like. The glass can be pushed and pulled, and after pulling it open, you can walk into the courtyard outside. This small side courtyard only belongs to this room. It is different from the central courtyard connected to the hotel lobby. The gardening method is different. The atrium is a combination of a mountain courtyard and a pool garden, with rock eries, flowing water, small bridges, trees, and pavilions. Exquisite and complicated, it looks a bit lively, but the dry landscape here can make people calm down at a glance. Drinking tea in the face of this kind of scenery can bring out as much insight as possible. The female general led Zhang Xiangbei and introduced him to the facilities in the room. In a Japanese-style house, the walls are covered with push-pull shoji screens, which hide all the mess behind the shoji screens. There are endless mysteries behind the shoji screens. The female general opened a screen, and Zhang Xiangbei saw that inside was a wardrobe with a nightgown hanging on it. Zhang Xiangbei put the backpack in, closed it, and couldn't see anything. Then he opened another door, which was a storage cabinet. Mattresses and quilts were packed inside. What was opened next was a water dispenser and a wine cabinet. The wine cabinet contained red wine, Japanese sake, mineral water, and beverages. The female general told Zhang Xiangbei that if she wanted ice cubes, please call the front desk. The female general then opened the screen, and Zhang Xiangbei saw that it was actually the door of the bathroom. The bathroom inside was divided into 3 parts. When you enter, you will find the washroom. The door next to the washroom is the bathroom, and the door opposite is the bathroom. is an independent toilet room. If two people live here, one person sitting on the toilet will not affect the other person's washing. In other words, while one person is washing, another person can take a shower inside without disturbing each other. Zhang Xiangbei feels that this design is still very user-friendly. The female general led Zhang Xiangbei to the back of the screen and opened the screen. Zhang Xiangbei was immediately delighted. He saw another small courtyard outside. When he walked out, he saw a square pavilion. Under the pavilion, there was an open-air circular hot spring pool. On the edge of the pool was a ground paved with cobblestones and wooden boards. There was a circle of pool edges and 3/2 are made of shiny and dull copper, and the other third are piled pebbles extending into the water. A wooden water tank protrudes from the pebbles. From the mouth of the water tank, hot spring water gurgles into the pool. Outside the layers of pebbles, there is a low wall and green trees. Even if you soak in the pool during the day, the entire pool and the people in the pool are hidden in the shadow of the pavilion and trees. Outside the low wall, there is a moss-covered landscape. The other side of the rock wall of the mountain behind, which is connected to the dry landscape garden, is separated by a dense wooden fence. This was a private open-air bath belonging to this room. It was warm and private. Zhang Xiangbei immediately thought of how great it would be if Xiang Nan was here, so they could soak in the hot spring pool all day long. Zhang Xiangbei was very satisfied with the room. The female general who served him could not speak Chinese, but she could speak English. There was no barrier to communication between the two. The hotel included breakfast and dinner. The female general asked Zhang Xiangbei to set the time for breakfast and dinner. Zhang Xiangbei set a timetable of 9 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock in the evening. The female general told Zhang Xiangbei that if there were any changes, please tell her or the front desk. Zhang Xiangbei nodded and said yes. The female general then asked Zhang Xiangbei if he had any taboos. Zhang Xiangbei said no, I am an omnivore and can eat anything. The female general smiled and asked, Sir, do you have any preferences? Zhang Xiangbei thought for a moment and said it was spicy, so spicy that it could kill you. The female general laughed and said yes, I will remember it, sir. After settling Zhang Xiangbei, Lao Jiao was about to drive back to Tokyo. Zhang Xiangbei saw him out. They passed through the central courtyard and reached the lobby. Mr. Jiao was still waiting for them here. When he saw them coming, he came forward to greet them. Ask, are you satisfied with the room? Zhang Xiangbei said he was satisfied, very good. So Mr. Zhang has decided to live here, Jiao Wei asked. Zhang Xiangbei is right. Jiao Wei seemed to be relieved and laughed happily. He exchanged business cards with Zhang Xiangbei and said to Zhang Xiangbei, whether you are in a hotel or in town, if anything happens, Mr. Zhang, you must call me. Telephone. Zhang Xiangbei said yes. Jiao Wei and Lao Jiao said, don't worry, you and your sister. I will take good care of Mr. Zhang when he is with us. Jiao Wei asked Zhang Xiangbei if he had any needs. Zhang Xiangbei said, nothing else. I just want to stop being so polite and bowing all the time. If you bow, I will give you one in return. I haven't even bowed in a year, this is more than a day. Both Jiao Wei and Lao Jiao laughed. Jiao Wei said yes, and after saying that, he still bent down habitually, and he also laughed. Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei said, don't worry about him, you can do whatever you want. Any more, Mr. Zhang? Jiao Wei asked. Also, can you please stop calling me Mr. Zhang? You can call me. Zhang Xiangbei thought for a moment and said, same as Lao Jiao, you call me buddy, and I call you Lao Jiao. Jiao Wei said yes and said buddy in Chinese, and Zhang Xiangbei gave him a thumbs up. In addition to the private baths in the rooms, the hotel also has public baths. Everyone here probably regards hot spring bathing as their own social activity. The public baths are open from 3 p.m. to 10:30 a.m. the next day. Now it happened to be time for rest and for the waiters to clean and disinfect, so Lao Jiao took them over to take a look. The entrance to the bathroom is very simple. There are two door frames side by side. There is no door. A curtain hangs from the door frame. The curtain only has the upper half and the lower half is empty. On the white curtain, it says women's soup. Two words, the brown piece has the words men's soup written on it. Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei said that the place will be rotated every day. Today it is the men's soup, and tomorrow it is the women's soup. Is it the same as the outdoor soup in town? Zhang Xiangbei said, and the old focus nodded. This saves trouble. Just hang two curtains and replace the men's and women's bathrooms. One room inside is a large circular pool, and the other is rectangular. The outside of each pool is covered with floor-to-ceiling glass. Outside the glass is a courtyard. In the courtyard, there is a round open-air hot spring outside the round pool, and there is a rectangular outdoor hot spring outside. A rectangular open-air hot spring. Zhang Xiangbei didn't go out to take a look. He thought to himself that he must be the one in the room and wouldn't come here. I don't like this kind of bare-butt social activities. This is too frank. I can't stand it. Back in the lobby, Lao Jiao gave Zhang Xiangbei a plastic envelope. Inside the envelope was a barcode. With this barcode, all the soup restaurants on the street could scan the code and enter for free. There was a rope on the envelope that could be hung on the neck. Zhang Xiangbei saw a small wooden sign hanging next to the service counter. The wooden sign was very delicate, with thick black characters written in calligraphy on it. Zhang Xiangbei asked what it was, and Lao Jiao said, "This is the soup outside every restaurant. When the soup is opened every day, it will be given to the first customer to come, 2 pieces a day, 1 piece for men and women. This is a customer who was lucky enough to get it and forgot it in the room. Hang it here to prevent him from coming back to get it." "How long has it been since you fell here?" Zhang Xiangbei asked. "More than 2 years," Lao Jiao said. Zhang Xiangbei almost laughed. "Okay, you guys are awesome. It's been more than 2 years. Do you think any idiot would remember to pick up such a small wooden sign?" Zhang Xiangbei smiled and said nothing. He was also serious and teasing was inappropriate, he told himself. Zhang Xiangbei and Lao Jiao sent Lao Jiao out. The young man immediately came over with their leather shoes. The shoes had been polished. Lao Jiao asked Zhang Xiangbei, "Dude, are you going to take to the streets?" Zhang Xiangbei shook his head and said, "Just send Lao Jiao to the gate." Lao Jiao said something to the young man, and the young man immediately took away his leather shoes and brought over a pair of clogs. "Are they so clearly distinguished?" Zhang Xiangbei almost laughed again. The three of them walked to the gate. Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei said, "You live here and you want to go back. Call me and I will come and pick you up." Zhang Xiangbei said, "No, why do you have to travel such a long way? I can just take the train back to Tokyo. You have to ask for leave when you come, which is troublesome." Lao Jiao said, "I will take my buddy to the station, don't worry, just remember to pick him up at the station." Zhang Xiangbei looked at the two of them and said, "You are all my nanny, do you treat me like a child?" The two of them laughed, and Lao Jiao said that they were both guests and friends. It was normal for a friend to give him a gift after he left. Lao Jiao and Zhang Xiangbei hugged each other, and then left. His car was parked at the other end of the town, and he was going through the entire town. Zhang Xiangbei looked at Lao Jiao's back and felt a little reluctant. Counting that they had only been together for less than 4 days this time, it felt like a long time had passed. When they were studying in the past, they were separated and reunited. When we meet at the beginning of school, everyone says hi to each other. During the holidays, we wave and say goodbye. It's very free and easy. Zhang Xiangbei wondered if he was really old and had become a veteran cotter. He hid in a corner of the Japanese countryside, isolated himself from the world, and became sentimental. Zhang Xiangbei returned to the room. He saw that just as he was leaving, the female general came in. She spread a piece of cloth on the tatami next to the long table, with a set of clothes neatly folded on the cloth. A yukata for him to go to town, a cloth bag for a change of clothes, a new pair of socks, and a new pair of shorts. The shorts were exactly his size. Zhang Xiangbei wanted to soak in the hot springs first, and then go out for a walk and have lunch. He didn't want to go to the outdoor hot springs. Anyway, he had already seen it. He was still not used to being honest with others. He was in the bath in this room. Here, it's pretty good. Zhang Xiangbei sat in the bath, and then he discovered that the seemingly random pebbles piled up on the edge of the pool were actually very particular. They were uneven in the water, making it very comfortable to sit and lean on. Place, and that piece of stone with a flat upper part is clearly a stone table. Zhang Xiangbei was overjoyed. He came out of the pool, dried himself with a bath towel, and walked to the wine cabinet. He wanted to get the wine, but after thinking about it, he didn't take it. He walked to the coffee table outside, took the teapot and made a pot of tea. Holding the teapot and cup, he thought for a while, opened the screen again, took out the cup of Jozaki referee from his backpack, and put his mobile phone into the tray. Zhang Xiangbei carried the tray back to the edge of the hot spring pool, placed the tray on the pebbles, and sat back in the pool, drinking tea and reading a book. He didn't recognize any Japanese in the book, so he looked at the illustrations inside, and deliberately sprinkled water on it with his hands. As expected, the paper of this book is really not wet. Zhang Xiangbei put down the book, picked up the phone, and saw that it was past 10 o'clock. At this time, Xiangnan must be in her own office. Zhang Xiangbei opened WeChat and requested a voice call. Xiangnan picked up the call. Xiangbei asked, "Is there anyone in your office?" "No, what's wrong?" Xiangnan asked. "In the video, I'm taking a hot spring bath. Let me show you." "This is the hot spring in my room," Zhang Xiangbei said. Xiangnan ended the call and then requested a video. Zhang Xiangbei pressed accept, and Xiangnan's face appeared on the screen. Xiangnan chuckled and cursed lightly. "Zhang Xiangbei, what's wrong with you? It's past 10 o'clock in the morning. What kind of hot spring are you soaking in? It's normal. People here are soaking in hot springs all day long. Let me show you whether the hot spring pool in this room is beautiful." "Not bad." Xiangnan nodded. "Zhang Xiangbei." "What? Put the camera down." "What's going down?" "Camera, look down at me." "Down? What are you looking down at?" Zhang Xiangbei lowered the camera away from his face and onto his chest. "Go further down," Xiangnan said. "Still going down?" Zhang Xiangbei was a little puzzled. When he saw Xiangnan's face turning red, he understood and cursed, "Going further, what do you want to see?" Xiangnan giggled. "Rogue," Zhang Xiangbei cursed. "You're just a gangster, what do you think? Come and beat me up." Xiangnan chuckled. "Thank you, Brokeback Mountain, for the reward of 2 fishes. "Thank you, Mr. Lelagia." Zhao 1017, "Can I not give it up?" Purple Turtle, "Toad dreaming of flying, the world is not impossible." Dong Long Dong, "Favorite go-to, White Horse Dragon." James Chen, "Take a look at it, Manman's Zai, Mi Kong Kong, Mr. SGN, Xiao Shen Nian Feng 48, Bobo enters the world, on the road to a nation. Book Friends 201906211331025336. Book Friends 201808102039134995. Book Friends 201905222127404445. Book Friends 202110010016197222 monthly tickets. Thanks for all the votes and reading. I wish you all good health.